are just too sweet.
All right, welcome to an all-new Attention Wrestling Disorder AWD episode. I want to say 18 or 19.
I think it's 17. I think it's 17 or
No,
18.
17. We did 17. It's
All right,
18.
so it's 18 then. All right, I can't keep up anymore. I'm stupid.
Yeah, I'm lost. All right. RJ show, the whole show, nothing but the whole damn show.
I am the Chuck of coffee. I'm back to my coffee gimmick. I'm drinking my Jamaican coffee. It's delicious. Chuck Baller, fella.
And I am the Hot Rod 521.
So, good to see you guys as always. We had a great show last time. Just bullshit, getting back to basics. We have a very special guest this week. This is going to be a fun show this week. Next week, however,
you mean next time?
We're going to get a word in edgewise because, it's great to have when we have guys who are in the business or fans that just love wrestling fans that just love this shit. Like I'm going to introduce in a bit, but then you have the marks and those just ridiculous one-sided next week.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You ready? That's all I got to say. And you guys are not going to get a word in edgewise. The
first time ever, me and Rod will agree. We'll both be sitting here with popcorn in our mouth. So
yeah, basically.
Okay.
Good enough for me.
Okay. So with that said, I want to introduce a dude that I'm RJ Show, by the way, and I want to introduce a dude. Well, I'm letting because the person here has never known me as RJ Show. So I'm just making that aware here. I want to introduce a dude I've known since like middle school, but I never realized was like as obsessed with wrestling as we are. In all the conversations I've had with this dude, I've never realized just how much he's into it, and it's just like us. Ladies and gentlemen, from Long Island, New York, Brian Mannix, welcome to Attention Wrestling Disorder. Great to have you.
Brian. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, welcome.
Very well. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I just got two quick questions before we get down to business. First of all, Jay, you talk about next week, and you guess next week. Are you already saying I'm going to be so bad I'm not going to be invited back? You already know what this is going to be so far. I mean,
shots fired.
How it goes. No. Like I said, with you, this is going to be a fun one.
Well, I hope so. That's no reason for it not to be. A lot going on this week. And my other question, Rod, let me just ask you. I've seen a few of these, including today, and every time it looks like you just got up from a nap. Is this? Is it always like
thumbnails, man? No, it's those thumbnails, man. Like I don't know how they be catching these pictures, but it's just horrible. I know.
I'm slowly working on fixing it, but
I make the dumb faces too, and I wonder why it's always Rod who gets called out when I can make some pretty stupid faces.
Apparently, I'm the one who looks like a normal person. Go figure. Look what I associate with.
Normal person.
This is what I associate with, Brian. Just so you know.
He knows.
I know.
Yeah.
And
I'm working on the thumbnails. There's a way to do it. I forgot how to do it, so I haven't done it. So I just leave them as is, and whatever happens, happens.
I pointed this out. I mean, we could have had a whole wrestling thing going on way back because Brian when I decided to run for class president, I was never the most popular guy, but, I always managed to just be friendly with everyone, but there was the popular girl in school who I was running against, and Brian wanted to be my manager. And I figured that had I acted the way I did in college, using, my love of wrestling into my personality, I probably would have won that thing instead of backing out like I did. I probably would have stayed on and won that thing.
You should have ran the course.
Hey, to be honest, I'll say this right now. To be honest about myself, my love of wrestling was what made me popular in high school. To be honest,
right.
I don't know. It just like I was obsessed with The Rock and Steve Austin. It was 97. And that was when this was going on. And, Brian, you were kind of like, you have that kind of wrestling manager mentality. You would have been a great campaign manager for me that time. But, I just got whatever it was, discouraged by whatever it was, and just was like, forget about it. But had I embraced my radio wrestling alter ego of the J as I did in college, the whole South Side would have been eating out of my hand.
I have a hard time disagreeing with that. I will say this, and I got to be honest here, guys. Now, listen, I don't mean to fire some more shots here, but I swear on anything you want, this is true. Jay asked me to be his campaign manager, and I'll tell you why. I had just run for president of SGA, and there was a screw job years before Montreal. That's
God's favorite event in wrestling ever.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. And after that, they wanted me to run for class, but I said, no, I am done running for office. So Jay decided to run, asked me if I'd be his campaign. I said, yeah, sure. It's all the fun without all the work. So fine with me. But you know what? Listen, Jay, we're in a better place now, thank God. And, it just goes to show life just works in such crazy ways. Who would think that you and I would be here with these two gentlemen and talking wrestling? So
I like this guy. He's very proper. Brian, I like you. You're a very proper guy. I respect that.
Wanted to do for years, and finally is happening. So
I respect him. He's a proper guy, unlike Rod, who is always running his mouth about wrestling and whatever he does.
I know you ain't talking. I know for a fact you are not talking.
Where do we begin? I think we should start with last weekend was the day that WWE got a huge wake-up call, and that wrestling outside of WWE is alive and well. And
I'm agreeing with this.
Yep.
I wore the wrong shirt today for this. I wore my WWE shirt.
Mick Foley's even said it.
Yes, he did. I posted it before you.
What do we have? The biggest dick contest about who posted something first?
So.
Jeez.
I must have missed the memo.
Apparently, they're having the who's got the bigger dick contest on who posted something first.
No, that's
it ain't gonna be me. That's for sure.
That's him, but that's besides the point.
No,
All
it's good pay-per-view.
All Out was just amazing.
Oh, fuck yeah. The best $56 I ever spent.
Oh, it was worth every penny. I would have spent 100 on that pay-per-view and been satisfied.
I
would have spent 100. What'd you say?
No, go ahead, Chuck.
No, I'm saying I would have spent $100 and I would have been happy.
I listen, I gotta agree with you guys. I actually had to get it at my in-laws. We were staying at my in-laws in Broad Channel. I said to them, I owe you $60. I'm getting this. This went in with, it's very rare that you see a wrestling show or anything for that matter live up to the hype bestowed upon it that was. And right. I think what made it such an instant classic was it had everything you want in a wrestling show. It had a match of the year candidate. Every match, with the possible exception of Paul White and QT Marshall, was at worst good. You had two surprises, you had debuts, but the number one thing you had, you turned it
three
off.
Surprises. You said 3 surprises.
There was a bunch
if you want to be technically 4, depending on how you're calling it, debuts and surprises. They're technically
right.
4.
Right.
You technically got 4.
Debuts,
Then we got 4. If you want to be technical about it.
Absolutely. But you know what the biggest thing it had was you turned it off asking yourself the question you should ask yourself every time you watch a show or a wrestling show or whatever, what is going to happen next?
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
It was a great night for AEW.
Great night.
It was just phenomenal, man.
It was an amazing night for AEW.
Well, while we on that subject of debuts and stuff, what just honestly just like blows my mind? How the WWE lost a guy that could carry it into the next decade over Twitch.
You think it was more than? What about the thing you posted?
Oh yeah, that too. I was going to get to that, but over Twitch, like,
I think it was more than that.
The man was one of your NXT centerpieces, and you wanted to bring him to the main roster to be a manager, and you wanted him to get rid of his Twitch. They basically handed to him over to AEW on a silver platter, basically, with that. They basically
literally
handed
did
him
straight
on
up.
a silver platter.
You're not even wrong. I can't even argue that. Wait, am I agreeing with you, Rod?
He said it himself. He's been there to support, Britt Baker, and he just loved the vibe that was going on there. And I mean, Tony Khan.
Of course, and he gets to keep his Twitch, and he's not gonna be somebody's manager.
And he got to go back to his good gimmick, and now he's back in the Elite, which is basically the new Bullet Club, which is one of the greatest things in wrestling right now. So he got everything he wanted.
And he does the whole circle again. He starts from scratch, and it works the most. I think what might have contributed to the move was that he looked at what the WWE did with Karrion Kross.
Right.
Saying if that's what they're going to do with him. I mean, and it's not just, he's the latest of guys they've brought up and completely shit on. Ricochet, Aleister Black, Andrade. The list goes on and on.
And have them in AEW now.
Where are two of those guys now? Where are those two guys now?
Where I just said. Bro.
And I don't think it's over. And just goes to show how good Adam Cole is. This past Wednesday, the crowd was loving him, eating him up. And he cuts a promo. He rips on Tony Schiavone.
Oh, that was great.
And
Oh my
they
God.
hated him. Oh, that is what a great wrestler is. You can get a crowd to love you or hate you. They do what you want them to do, and that's what stands out about
because he's
like
in
Chris
tune.
Jericho
Because he's another one who's in tune with the paying audience. He gets the pulse of where society is, and the best talents in wrestling are the ones that are in touch.
It boggles my mind, that story that I posted. Not even the fact they wanted him to be a manager. You wanted him to be Keith Lee's manager.
They were really trying.
If you actually knew what you was doing with Keith Lee, you would know Keith Lee don't need no manager.
Nope.
Keith Lee doesn't need a manager. I do think Keith Lee would be a good heel based for WWE standards, but I do think that what they were going to do was they were going to basically Leo Rush Adam Cole on the main roster because he's small.
And he's one of the best wrestlers they fucking have.
I know.
What's Rey Mysterio? If he's small, then what's Rey Mysterio?
Exactly, I agree.
Are you talking about Leo the Liar, by the way?
Ray's the rare standard, in my opinion, when it comes to the size thing. He's the rare standard.
But my point is,
like he's the exception to the rule that WWE has about the smaller guys.
But that's my point, though. Like if they were gonna Leo Rush him, it was like when he was doing the stuff
with
Bobby Lashley.
I don't think Cole would have maybe.
And they were gonna probably change his name because they're Michael Cole, because Michael Cole's their Cole and WWE.
Oh,
probably
get the hell out of here!
That was probably what they would do.
I've read that.
He would have got brought up and been like Cole's son. Cole would have been.
I'm surprised
that's Michael Cole's son.
Hey, Rod, it's a good thing he's with AEW now. You just give WWE their next creative idea for Adam Cole.
Well,
you just gave them their next idea.
Rod. Oh, by the way, you sort of mentioned it, but as much as they booed him, even the next show, they're gonna say Adam Cole, baby.
They're over.
They're gonna hate him.
People
probably. And you know what's going to be interesting when AEW comes to the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island in December, and I will be in attendance. It'll be very interesting to see the reception MJF gets because he's from Long Island.
Yeah.
Will the
he's
crowd
cheer him anyway?
Another one of those guys.
Of course he is.
I'm probably going to go to that. I'm definitely going on the cruise. I'm excited about that, but I'm definitely going to try and go to the Coliseum event too. Yeah, no, I can't wait for that because I'm like the biggest MJF part going.
Right.
I think he's fantastic.
You have shitty teeth.
And apparently, tonight on
Rampage,
Rampage, Cole's supposed to be getting like a sit-down interview. Him and Bryan Danielson.
I'm loving the Bryan
It
Danielson.
feels so good to say that again, but it also feels like kind of weird. Like I gotta get used to saying that again.
Not only that, Rod, you know what he came out to? You saw what was on the screen. The American Dragon name is
yes.
Yeah, he's back to that,
point.
which I like.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, because he could do what he wants to do. And actually, I respect Bryan Danielson, rather. I'm happy I can say that. I'm still adjusting to that.
Not the first and won't be the last. It's going to take a while, like Rod said. Rod said it. Take a while to
For the
get
most
back
part,
to
I've been good with it, but that was like my first slip up since it's happened. But my point is that I actually respect how he's handling himself within that. But even Adam Cole's doing this too, where I like that they didn't bury the WWE.
No, they actually thanked the company. If anything,
they were grateful, but they realized. but they both realize that
Yes,
they saw
they
better
did the
potential for
complete
their
opposite.
characters and themselves in AEW. That's why you're going to see a lot of guys go over to AEW if they can get there.
Because if it was all about the money, they would have just stayed because they would have been making great money.
I mean, but
Which is
also the way Tony Khan's paying guys, they're probably not taking pay cuts if at all.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Rod, you
very,
have to
very
remember,
minimal.
Rod.
They're probably not.
Rod, you have to remember the Khan family makes the McMahons look poor.
Oh, I heard.
Really?
I
I've
gotta
heard.
say, if you look at AEW shows, if AEW right now, if WCW's bank account met ECW's fan base, it would be AEW.
That's actually true. I would agree.
All right, so I want to ask you guys this question. Now that like Brian Danielson is in AEW,
Okay.
is there a chance the Bellas could follow suit next?
Well, did you hear the interview that he gave after the show? You can find it on YouTube. He basically said that, if I remember correctly, that, based on his wife's loyalty to WWE, he doesn't see her going there anytime soon to AEW.
They still do a lot of
they still got like one more season left of I believe Total Bellas left to air. So
Which
if
they
anything,
have
it
that-
would probably happen after that, at the very least.
But
If
also,
they
That's
were to
a-
make the jump.
It's
But
a very interesting. Go ahead.
I was just saying, but the Bellas are interesting because, like, even though they're not on TV or they're not wrestling, they're still big brand names for WWE,
yeah.
and they're big like ambassadors for WWE even
Yes.
still.
Listen,
You didn't let Brian know, did you? We should just let him know right now. Brian,
what?
you gotta really jump in because we talk over each other. We're as
We're
bad
bad.
as talking
All right.
shop.
I'm trying to be
We're
respectful, but I'm bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, listen, man. We'll all get our points in at some point. I have no problem going last because I'll bury all of you. We all know that. But anyway, no.
We'll see.
But listen, I never really liked the Bellas. Okay, you know what though?
Thank you.
There's a saying in wrestling, and it's a saying I go through in life: never say never. And who knows? Somebody back there can not only bring them in, but actually make them watchable. You never know. So
I don't think I want to see the Bellas in my new favorite, company right
I
now.
don't either. But
I wouldn't. I'm gonna tell you why.
I love my
Sorry to
Bellas.
cut
Here
you
we
off, but
go.
I'm gonna tell you why I would. You realize right now, over the last decade, no females in professional wrestling, not named Ronda Rousey, because she was a big name before she came to the WWE, have become more marketable than the Bellas. You realize what that would do to AEW right there? The marketability of the Bellas in AEW? You don't even need to put them. You don't even need to put them in the ring. You don't even need to put them in the ring.
but
Just
do
have
you?
them come out. Hey, that's marketability right there. For example, I swear to this. If WWE decides tomorrow they're gonna make a Bella Twin DVD, right? The best of the Bellas, whatever, right?
They still make
I'm
DVDs.
willing to bet you any amount of money
Those are
the
exist?
sales of that DVD would blow the sales of Trish and Lita's DVD out the water, guaranteed.
Rob, what is this?
Guaranteed.
2005.
I'll
Hey, Rob.
take that bet. I'll take that
Guaranteed.
bet.
Guaranteed.
Rob,
I'll take
what are you talking? 2005 with DVD sales still?
Pipe down over there.
Mr. I bought an Iron Maiden vinyl.
Hey, don't. Hey, listen. Vinyl is different than DVD.
Oh, here we go.
Music is
I
different
have
than
to
wrestling.
agree with them. I have to agree with them.
Music is
But
different.
let me just ask you, Rod. Do you really want AEW to take somebody like the Bellas and do their own version of Total Bellas or something like that? Because in my opinion, that shit is exactly what's been wrong with WWE for the past several years. They care so much about
Brian,
this
you're forgetting
extracurricular
something.
bullshit.
I mean,
that
well,
goes on in the ring.
I mean, look, that depends. I mean, that depends
I
on
have
how
to-
good
I have to cut
Rose
you
to the
guys
top
off, though.
does. That
I have to
depends
cut
on the
you guys
ratings of
off.
Rose to the top.
Cody's new
I know what he's going to
reality
say.
show.
Go ahead. He's right.
It's going to be
Cody's
that.
reality show.
Cody's got a new reality show, which is basically going to be the same thing as Total
What is
Divas
it? I
and
know what I
Total
know.
Bellas.
Why
It's the same
I
shit.
just said it. So if
That's a
that's
good point.
successful, why would you not? Why would AEW not pick up Total Bellas?
That's because Rod, if
Rose to
it
the top
has, if
is
it has the
successful.
stamp of wrestling on it, you watch it. Let's call a spade a spade.
Okay, and your point is what? Because I'm a wrestling fan, duh.
I know. I'm breaking your balls. Relax. Relax, bro.
That's what we do.
This is what we
Absolutely.
do, Rod.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying. I mean, you're speaking facts here like no one knows this already.
I know. I mean, Rod's the only person I know that actually watches 205 Live.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
seriously,
yeah.
I stopped. They dumped like everyone.
I know that does suck, but what I do like about it now, they're letting the ladies wrestle more on 205 Live, which I don't see why not, because they are under 205. It is 205 Live and under, so why not?
Rod, I'm still mad at you that you made me watch an episode of Main Event for you to do stores for fantasy. I'm still mad at you.
If you have time to watch it, God bless.
I wish I had more time to watch wrestling. I don't. I'm invested in too many things. That's why I watch what I watch, because I like a lot of the wrestling, but I can't keep up with all of it. So I prioritize what I feel is the strongest products. And for me, I'm always going to be a WWE fan because I grew up on it. Like that's where I got started.
Sure.
So
I grew up on it too. And I've told the story.
Some people have jumped ship from WWE, and that's their prerogative. Some people only watch WWE. That's also their prerogative. Me, I just watch it, even I just enjoy pro wrestling. I just enjoy watching pro wrestling.
Me too.
But same here. I mean, listen, it's like Gregory Helms says. If you're a wrestling fan, it doesn't matter what 3 letters are comma before the word wrestling. You try to watch it.
Give it a shot.
I watch what I have time for. Yes. Listen, I go back with WWE over 35 years. Okay, so I'll always watch. But it's been getting very hard lately, very hard.
Because I'll say this right now. My biggest pet peeve is when somebody says they want a wrestling company to fail. If you are a wrestling fan, you should never want a company to fail.
Exactly.
I agree. I don't want any of these companies to fail. I
want them all to succeed. Because the more wrestling companies succeed, the better the product is for all of us fans.
Hey, Ron, I want Impact to fail.
I said that about
WWE because you're a hater.
Because of how they've been, portrayed lately by what you're hearing the other former employees saying, and it really pisses me off, all the stuff I'm hearing and seeing all the people there letting go and just all the dumb decisions.
That is sad. That is sad. That I admit is horrible. I admit that's horrible. And NXT is about to really get what's name because you got the new regime coming next week.
But here's the thing, guys. I think we're already starting to see the early seeds of what NXT is becoming with the whole Indian Dexter Loomis. That's where it's going. That it is gonna be more of that. That's where it's going.
You know what it reminded me of?
The Cameron Grimes, LA Knight, $1 Million Man stuff. That's where it's going. It's gonna be more entertainment because what WWE is doing is they're trying to prove that they're not in the same business as AEW, because in their minds, AEW is a wrestling company where they're a sports entertainment company. It's 2 different platforms.
Where they went though, that NXT, the whole thing with the bachelor parties. Chuck, to your credit, I will say, it reminded me of an Impact of that Wrestle House skit.
Because Bruce Pritchard's writing that garbage. That's like
he didn't write Wrestle House though.
He what?
He didn't write Wrestle House.
But he wrote that type of shit in Impact when he was there. You guys act like he didn't, but he did.
Listen, Bruce Pritchard is not exempt from writing garbage, and I agree with what you said, Chuck. I mean, the NXT is already starting to deteriorate. You're already seeing signs of the next, and it's important to note. Don't get me wrong. I love AEW as much as the next person. It is by far the best thing on TV right now, no question. Thing is, you got to remember, AEW makes its share of colossal mistakes too.
Okay, all companies do.
All companies do, and AEW has been no exception. I think a huge reason for that is a lot of their road agents. I still use the word road agents. I think it sounds, more wrestling than producers. But they got road agents, producers, whatever you want to call them, that are from that WWE, that were released from WWE. They were brought up to produce from WWE, so they still got that WWE mentality. You're seeing it evaporate, but it's still there.
It's still there. I agree.
Completely evaporates. I don't think you've seen the best of AEW yet.
Here's the one thing I will say.
It's only getting better. That's for sure. It's not getting worse by no means. It's only getting better.
One thing.
Think about it. Think about AEW. The last 2 years now, they've produced the #1 guy in the PWI 500. What is a wrestling company? What was the last wrestling company not named WWE to do that? If that's ever happened.
TNA with AJ Styles.
I'm talking about back to back.
Back to back, never.
Yes.
Never.
I don't even think WCW did it.
Kenny Omega, #1.
Right. I say last year was Moxley. back-to-back guys, PWI 500.
New
Yeah.
Japan.
They
best
literally
kept
said
secret.
any other year, Roman Reigns easily would have been number one any other year except for this year.
I still like Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I think Roman Reigns is on point right now for what WWE is. I think right now for WWE, SmackDown is their best brand because obviously they're kissing so much Fox ass, so they're giving Fox everything they want. And because of it, you're
Fox
actually
is
getting
not-
their best
Fox
product.
is
That's why all
pissed
their-
about the Fiend getting released. They pissed about that.
What happened?
Fox is pissed about the Fiend getting released, so they were not happy about that.
But again,
Just like how USA was mad that SmackDown got to bring Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar back.
I
because
thought
both
Bray
of
Wyatt
them.
wanted to be released.
Bray Wyatt did want to be released. He was dealing with a lot of. Clearly, he was going through some mental health stuff. Like people don't address that stuff enough. The guy was in
And
really
unfortunately,
emotional, rough shape.
and
Speaking of
to what
which,
Chuck's saying, yeah, unfortunately, that's why we had the unfortunate passing of Daphne Thursday because we don't
That's
what's
very
name
sad.
enough.
Yeah, rest in peace, Daphne.
seriously,
Yes, God bless her wherever she is. Latest victim, unfortunately. But yeah, very, very unfortunate. Seems like we get that way too much. But what was cool though? One thing AEW does though that WWE doesn't do enough of, and that is pay homage to the past. You see Jim Ross give these references all the time. That's like the Dory Funk Wahoo McDaniel feud, or that elbow drags like Mr. Wrestling 2. But what I really liked was you saw FTR
With the Midnight Express gear,
of the Midnight Express, and in memory of one of the most
That was cool.
And beautiful Bobby. Loved him.
Time.
Dude was incredible in the ring.
Quite possibly the best wrestler to never be employed in any way by WWE.
Agreed.
Easily.
he
Bobby-
was, like he had that whole thing with Regal and
David Taylor, the Blue Blood.
Yeah.
Blue
Yep.
Blood. What was the other guy? Regal and
Squire
Right,
David Taylor.
Yeah, okay.
Because him and Taylor actually teamed up a little bit in WWE too.
You know what's funny?
Yep. Sorry.
You know what's funny about, and here's a credit to Bobby Eaton. That was probably his worst gimmick he ever had in wrestling. If you look at his whole career.
The York Foundation.
All right, he's part of that too. I forgot. I wasn't watching back then, so I forgot he was about that. Yeah, that's right. That
Wait,
was
was he? Hold on, I'm trying to think. Was he one? Rich, Morton, and
IRS, Mike Rotundo before he became. That's where
Mike
originally the
Rotundo.
gimmick was in the York Foundation.
Terry Taylor, yeah. It was,
Terry Taylor, Tommy Rich, Richard
Rich.
Morton.
That was
Yep.
when Ricky Morton was
Was
still,
that
right?
WCW or AWA?
This was WCW.
That was
This is like-
WCW early. This is
WCW.
before
This was
Alexander
like
York.
Jim Hurd.
You might know her
WCW.
better. You might know her better as Terry Reynolds.
I was about to say, if you don't know, Google it because you're going to see Terry Reynolds in a way you've never seen her before.
The laptop. She's one of the first people to use a laptop and stuff. That crap was great.
Oh, it just goes to show what plastic can do. Yeah, so
Jim Hurd,
yeah,
who Ric Flair would say is the worst mind in the history of professional wrestling. If you ever ask him and Mick Foley both would say Jim Hurd was one of the worst, if not the worst.
Jim Cornette will agree with that too. You got to throw
a
Jim
lot of
Cornette.
people will agree with that.
Jim Cornette has buried Jim Hurd to shreds. There's only two people behind Vince Russo that Jim Cornette buries almost as bad as he buries Russo. Kevin Dunn and Jim Hurd. Those are like his top three burials of people. He hates those three people.
I love Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette is one of my all-time favorite wrestling minds.
Even
The
after
thing
what he
about-
said about Penelope Ford, I thought that was fucked up.
I mean,
What'd you say?
I'm not saying I agree with everything Jim Cornette says, but I'm saying
Cornette
there's a
said
lot of
some really
philosophies.
bad
No,
shit about
I don't agree with his.
No,
modern
when it
take
comes
on
to like
wrestling.
wrestling knowledge, like Jim Cornette's the person you want to talk to. Anything else,
Oh.
no. I mean, you got this the same dude that literally last year when Sonya Deville's house got broken into by that dude, the first thing that came out of his mouth was her and Mandy Rose should have been fired because they're living together while feuding. That's the first thing that came out of that dude's mouth when that happened. Not the fact that she had her house broken into by some psychopath who was going to
So
do
we know
God
somebody
knows
who's
what
more
to her.
kayfabe than Rod. Jim Cornette is more
Pipe
kayfabe
down
than
over
Rod
there.
Hancock.
Pipe down over there.
He is.
Listen, I love Cornette. He's one of my all-time favorite wrestling minds. But the thing with him is he's stuck in 1985.
Yes.
He wants it to go back to 1985, and that doesn't get over anymore. And
No.
he hates AEW. He hates Matt Riddle. He's
Oh.
a miserable fuck nowadays.
He's been miserable.
There was a time where he was just absolutely fantastic. And the really crazy thing is, you know, if Jim Cornette came from New York, he would beat Paul Heyman. And if Paul Heyman was from the South, he'd beat Jim Cornette. They're two different people. One's from New York, the other's from the South.
And the funny thing is, in real life, they hate each other. It's hilarious. And they hate each other in real life, but they're the same person.
Right.
Who do you think is better, by the way? And Brian, you can. Do you think Don Callis is more Paul Heyman than Paul Heyman has been?
No,
Don
it's different.
Callis, I can't stand Don Callis. Never have been able to. Every few years he resurrects in this business, and I roll my eyes. You know what drives me? Like I say, AEW makes its share of mistakes every fucking time. One of Callis's guys or one of Taz's guys are in the ring, they're on commentary. You already got 3 guys on Wednesday nights, which is more than enough. Now you're bringing in a 4th guy, and that is just overkill. And on Rampage, you already got 4 guys. That is just overkill. 2, maybe 3 if you got 3
This is
guys
why Joey Styles is my favorite commentator of all time.
Agreed 100%.
Because he called it by himself. He didn't need a partner. Sometimes he would have Shane Douglas to rattle off on him, and that was funny because that was when he was here.
Joe Gertner. You're talking about Gertner.
Yeah,
Joe Gertner for a while too. That's true.
Well, Gertner sucked with them. Don Callis commentated with Styles, and it was hard. That was when they were on TNN, and the company was pretty much falling apart.
The network.
But I agree.
Yeah.
Shane Douglas worked well with them. Rick Rude worked well with them. But
Yeah,
for the most part, Joey was always best when he was on his own. I'll give you the top 5 all-time great commentators. Number 1, I still say Solely. I won't argue with anybody.
I knew you were going to say that.
Gordon Soley.
That's fair.
Jim Ross. Bobby Heenan. Lance Russell. Joey Styles.
I would agree with most of that. Yeah.
I've been having a big problem with Ross lately.
I would replace Russell with Mike Tenay.
Yeah, I agree.
He's
I
in my
replace
top
Russell
10.
with Mike Tenay.
All right. I wouldn't, but I do agree. He's in my top 10, Mike, tonight.
Actually, Ross is so bad that Tony Schiavone, he's rubbing off on Tony Schiavone.
Oh, my God.
Danielson?
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
That was funny. No, again, I feel like I love Jim Ross. He's a great commentary, but Jim Ross is at a age and a point in his career where maybe he just can't keep up with everything the way he used to. It's a different dynamic.
That's why here he's like transitioning to like not be a full-time commentator anymore.
WWE Dynamite.
Yeah, really. No, the worst shit though, what I will say was terrible with Jim Ross though was when he did the New Japan stuff. Some of that stuff was really bad, and I say that because he was doing them on Access before Impact had their deal there, but he wasn't working for New Japan, but he was doing them after that. Him and Josh Barnett, and he just doing commentary for New Japan is a lot different than doing commentary for WWE or AEW. It's just different. It's culturally, it's different. Japan has this culture thing where if you literally pay attention to Japan, unless like it warrants it, when the wrestlers enter the ring, people get quiet. There's really not commentary. There's no comment. They're about respect. They're quiet. They're admiring the talent. And when the performance is done, unless it warrants it, they're applauding after it's finished.
Right.
But what was cool, and I'm actually happy that we did this, because now I could segue into the surprise that I enjoyed at All Out when Minoru Suzuki came out. And I got the thing that I've been wanting for 2 years because of COVID. I haven't been able to get it. When the Kazi Nina Ray line came out, the whole crowd chanted it. And that was amazing. That's what they did in Japan, but because last 2 years with the way they do events, they don't allow the fans to project in Japan. That's why the crowds are more quiet now. They clap, but you don't hear them project vocally because they're not allowed to.
Man, when you heard and I couldn't see the words, they were clearly there. Minoru's the king, Minoru Suzuki. I couldn't see it, but as soon as I heard do, I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was one of my favorite things that happened on that whole thing. Like it was, for me, it was as cool as Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole debuting, and as much as it was. I haven't even gotten there yet. And that was the other thing. I didn't realize it because I was on the phone with my girlfriend when she first entered, but I listened to the playback and I almost screamed when she actually came out to the song Ruby Soho.
Yeah.
I almost screamed. So I love Rancid.
Oh my God.
Idea from Rancid. From what she said in the interview she did, the post-show interview, I think that was Lars from Rancid had something to do with that.
I'm sure, yeah. Well,
because he's a wrestling fan too.
He's really good friends with CM Punk too in real life. Him and Lars are like really good friends.
And it just goes to show, what I said before, how the cons make the McMahons look poor. The cons are pouring out money to the record companies for popular music. You got Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Jungle Boy, all coming out to popular music. Ruby Soho, who keep in mind, this is the former Ruby Riott. She's already got her own entrance song. Listen, we're spending money where it counts, and let's see if we can make something out of her.
Oh, you missed one.
Oh, what did we miss?
Living Color. Living Color.
Well, that's obvious. Cult Personnel. That's the obvious one. Yeah.
Technically, no, he's right. Technically, he's right. If you really want to get technical, Flight of the Valkyrie, Brian Danielson.
But I mean, it's a new version of it too. They
actually, if you listen to it, like in WWE, they made it their own rock version, so it was like a cover version. But what they did was they actually took the actual original Flight of the Valkyrie tune. It wasn't like they tweaked it. It was the original song. I don't know how the license is on that, but that might actually be almost like a stock theme. Almost. It might be. Don't quote me on that.
Man. I love Ruckus for what he's been doing with all the themes. I mean, look what he did to Adam Cole's theme. How fucking awesome is that?
I like the new Cole theme. Sure. I do think it's cool that Brand New Sin did make another theme for Paul White.
It wasn't Brand New Sin. It was just the singer.
Oh, it was just a singer? Okay.
Just Joe, yeah.
You guys want to laugh? I mean, I know they changed it now because they're doing stupid shit in WWE, but Happy Corbin, Baron Corbin's last theme was... No, but his theme was awesome because they had Tommy Vex do the vocals on it. That's where they spent their money.
Right.
Tommy Vex is a hell of a singer.
But unfortunately, you put a hell of a singer with the guy who, and here's the thing with him, Baron Corbin is a very rare type of heel. He's a guy the fans boo because they can't fucking stand him. And that's what you want in a heel. And yet they give this guy one horrible gimmick after another, after another, after another. This guy doesn't need a bad gimmick to get over. Okay?
He gets the heat no matter what.
He had that wonderful DDP 1995 gimmick of him being poor, losing all his money.
and he's DDP made that work. That was one of DDP's best gimmicks he ever had as a wrestler.
The best part about that is when he legitimately, for one day, actually went to the offices of the PWI magazine and worked there. That's how much he wanted to make that seem like he was legit that poor. He actually worked for a day at the PWI magazine.
That was funny. I remember that. I remember because I was a little kid, and that was around the time that I had just started
I was like,
watching
oh wow, I was like, geez.
Wrestling. That was when I first got cable. Well, I wasn't first watching wrestling. That was when I had cable.
I remember that too. I was like, I actually felt sorry for him when I saw he was at the PWI magazine on a copy machine.
Rod, I have one thing to say to you about DDP.
Oh my God, here we go. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Such a damn degenerate.
I am not a degenerate. I'm just talking about.
Rod, you bring up, recycling gimmicks, which they've been doing forever. I mean, even MVP in his first WWF stint did a thing like that where he lost money and didn't even have money for entrance music or whatever. But you've seen it so many times over the years. Carlito, Razor Ramon, Bray Wyatt, Waylon Mercy, Simon Dean, the Body Donnas, the Social Outcasts, the Job Squad.
Wait, who won
Jamie
Noble?
Carlito kind of did.
Noble and
Carlito.
There's another one who's like Razor Ramon right now.
Oh.
Well, you used to know him as Consequence Martinez. Now we know him as Damian Priest because he's definitely been
a little bit. Yeah, you couldn't make that connection. But Noble and Mercury, Patterson. You've been seeing it so many times over the years. There was two gimmicks I never thought would be recycled, and one of them has. The one that hasn't is Santa Claus. I'll be damned if you ever see another incarnation.
They'll never do that again.
Poor Balls Mahoney.
Balls Mahoney,
rest in peace.
And the other one, I never, in my wildest dreams, especially in the world which we live in right now, a recycling of Saba Simba, which is what you see in Apollo Crews right now. How crazy is that?
It's literally a heel version of Saba Simba, but yes.
Basically, yes.
Because Saba Simba was a babyface, but the idea, yeah.
You ever thought you'd see that? Even at the time, this was 1991 when he was out. Even at the time, that was considered racist. At 91, imagine if that came out today. And guess what? It is out today. It's Apollo Crews. How crazy is that?
But isn't
some
of
never
that,
say never,
like, isn't some of it loosely based on truth, even though isn't his family?
I think it is up. I think it's upbringing to a point, but it does. I get what you're both saying. I think
like
it
the whole
is like an upbringing thing.
True.
But I do think because it's a character, they're elevating it so it comes off like he's saying, like the Samba Simba little pseudo racist.
No, I know. But
that's not his real voice. That's not his real accent.
No, but he has. But it's his. But they're tapping into that family origins again. It goes back to Bruce Pritchard's writing the bullshit. It all goes back to Bruce Pritchard's writing the bullshit. And it's the reason why the second they replaced Paul Heyman with Bruce Pritchard, guys like Ricochet got the shit into the stick. That's when Angel Garza, Aleister Black stopped getting pushed. Angel Garza stopped getting pushed. Andrade ran out. That is one thing. Speaking of Andrade, though, I will say this. Sure. This is where AEW is getting it wrong. And I know everybody's going to hate I'm not going to be popular with this. They're bringing in
matches tonight, by the way, so.
What'd you say?
Finally. Him and Pop tonight.
The matches tonight.
Yeah, finally. My point is that you have one of the hottest talents in the last 20 years to come out of Mexico. He's like one of the most popular big names in Mexico. He's like almost at one point, almost like on the comparable level of like a John Cena of Mexico. Big name in Mexico. You bring him to the States. Maybe he doesn't translate the same way, but you could still do a lot with him. He's a big name. You bring him in. Unfortunately, because you couldn't have the match, now you bring all these other guys in like Punk and Bryan and Cole, and now you just devalued Andrade, and he hasn't even done anything yet.
That's why Rampage probably has to go to 2 hours, Chuck.
I agree with you.
And listen, I love 1 hour shows. The ROH show that you
two things they're gonna have to do. Sorry to cut you off. They're going if you're gonna make it 2 hours, you're gonna have to give it a new time slot. 10 to 12, that is a death sentence on a Friday night. If you don't believe me, just ask Impact Wrestling.
Listen, Friday nights is a death sentence. I can't for the life of me.
Oh, I mean, anything after 10 is hard to get like really good ratings after 10 o'clock.
I don't know why they don't do Thursday nights. Thursday nights is perfect night for wrestling. I don't know why they can't stay away from Friday nights.
I think the only reason is because you're competing with football and shit like that. And different sports
football,
I think that's the only reason they do that, because you're competing with.
It's like how Monday Night Raw has to compete with Monday Night Football 4 months a year.
Yeah, but
I just want to point out that Rod made an Impact comment, and Chuck, you kept quiet.
I know.
Oh my God!
I just want
to. You know what? Andrade, I'm going to be nice to Rod about Impact. Again, Impact has a lot of good talent, a lot of guys I like there. But
again, you mean because I told you that earlier today on the phone?
Or because I knew that anyway. But yes, okay. you can take all the credit you want for that, sweetheart. But
okay.
My point is that they have good talent. My thing is I don't like the writing, and also there's so much wrestling. And I'm a busy guy. I'm going to level with you guys. And with my work schedule, I can't keep up a little bit. So of all the things I'm into, Impact is not the priority company. But we chat a lot of wrestling. We all know that I prioritize AEW New Japan. Those are probably my 2 favorite promotions. I love Ring of Honor. I like NWA.
Don't, throw them in the back burner, because, I mean, again, Deonna Purrazzo is becoming a household name.
Deonna Purrazzo is on point right now, dude. She's one of the best things in Impact right now.
So
she went from jobbing to Nia Jax to a double champion right now.
I'm not. So Deonna Purrazzo is doing great there. Cardona and Myers are both owning it. Cardona is on point right now. I'm loving this GCW stuff.
I wish
Cardona as a Deathmatch King heel is hilarious. That shit's got me dying.
And what's so crazy is, if you've ever met Zack Ryder or Matt Cardona, whatever you want to call him, He's a great guy in real life. And another guy who's I couldn't believe how nice he was is Adam Cole. And to see him act like such a dick in the ring and get over just goes to show how good he is. But Chuck, I just want to comment on what you said about Andrade. My only criticism with, he only wrestled one match on Dynamite.
Yeah,
against Seidel, Matt Seidel.
I'm sorry?
It was against Matt Seidel.
Matt Seidel, correct. And he wore like a suit while he was wrestling. Are you friggin' crazy? Have him look like a normal person, because this is a guy, it's easy to forget. He had a match that so should have won Match of the Year in PWI. His match against Gargano at that takeover.
I agree.
And I think the reason it gets overlooked, it got overlooked in year-end polls, is because it happened so early in the year. It was like January or February.
Yeah,
right.
You forget about, let's be honest, when people go look at year-end, they think of the last 6 months, if that.
That's
But
the
that
problem.
was a very underrated match.
People
One of the
forget.
best matches
I agree.
in
People
NXT
forget.
history.
I agree with you. People forget things, and it's
One of
a
the
shame.
best matches in the history of NXT.
I agree.
And it makes me all misty-eyed because, yes, Gargano, they've always done right by. Andrade went to WWE and went to shit. And poor Zelina Vega. This is a woman. You got so many people who have the gift of gab that could be such good managers. JBL, Enzo, Carmella, Mandy Rose. I got pissed when they put her in the ring. You saw her going out as a scout. She looked like the next woman or the next Sherry Martel. Now they're going to put her in the ring, even though she
she's
sucks.
good in the ring, though. Brian, come on. When she came into the ring, when Paige was with her and Sonya Deville, I had so much respect for her when I saw what she could do.
Right.
Brian, you know who I'm surprised you did not put on that list of names you just mentioned? You know who I am surprised you did not say?
Oh.
Eva Marie.
Yeah.
Manager?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes, as a manager, yes, as a wrestler, no. She does not need to be anywhere near the ring.
Eva Marie is a quad in wrestling.
As a manager,
straight up,
she could get you put her with the right heel. She get that heel good heat. In the
You
ring,
know what?
she
As
does
a
not need to be in the
manager,
ring. In the ring, no.
Jay, as a manager, he's got a point. As a wrestler, she's a bag of garbage.
I agree.
she's
I
trash.
think Stevie Wonder can see
like
that,
as a manager,
you
like if you had a heel who all they need was a mouthpiece, you make her the mouthpiece.
That
They get
wrestler,
over
no, I
instantly.
agree. That wrestler would get
Worth
immediate
a try.
heat.
Yeah, maybe, but
But
yeah.
the only problem with her is that I feel like even on any role she has,
Yes.
Eva Marie gets that go away heat. Like you don't want her there. It's like, oh, boo, get the fuck off my TV.
Because remember when Natalya first had her heel turn, she wanted Eva to be her manager because she knew Eva would have gave her the heat that she needed. Because everybody loves Natalya, no one wanted to boo Natalya, and they said no to that.
Natalya started as a heel in WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as she's progressed now, she's become like the freaking most lovable freaking woman in the locker room.
The problem with Natalya is that
the Kiss of Death title, the women's tag titles, the Kiss of Death title.
I'm happy that like Tamina's getting a push and like Natalya's getting a push. But the problem is no one gives a rat's ass about Tamina. Like no one cares.
Absolutely not.
I disagree. Did you not hear that reaction she got at WrestleMania this year?
Because you were doing the lineage angle with her, so you gave her a reason to get the pop when they won the belt.
They were just happy to be there. They were popping for everything because they were happy to be there.
Exactly.
You know?
But to me, like it was a good promo, and like Tamina got her heart, and that's what it makes no sense. They don't know how to fucking use Tamina either. Not knowing that nobody cares, but they don't know how to use her because like 1 week it's like, oh, she's this heartfelt, almost like baby face, and then they're making her a big heel because she's got size, and any woman that has a little fucking size, don't make him a heel.
And you know what? We're bringing up.
Right? She's a good heater.
Who?
Tamina.
She can be.
The shit she did for AJ. For AJ.
Yeah.
Well,
But then they had her lose too quickly. I mean, you know, Rod bringing up WrestleMania makes me think of something that we really need to talk about. This has been a big story this week. You know, one of the things I remember best about this past year's WrestleMania was the first night when the show got delayed because of lightning. So WWE had to go to something that's straight up pro wrestling, and that is we got time to kill, put a mic in his or her hand, and make her cut a promo on the fly. And the only guy that was able to do it was Kevin Owens, which brings us to his contract is coming up.
Yeah,
Kevin
January.
Owens, in my opinion, is a Wrestling Observer Hall of Famer. The Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame is the most respected Hall of Fame in wrestling. No politics, no hoopla, no Maria Menounos inducting you into the Hall of Fame. It's straight up who belongs. There's legends.
Because I gotta fix my AC. It's driving me nuts.
Go for it. But there's legends, and then there's legends. That's where the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame is. Kevin Owens belongs there because he has excelled everywhere he has gone. And if he goes to AEW, he's going to excel yet again. He will fit that.
Mount Rushmore.
What's your take on Kevin Owens?
Rumors are flying.
That's
where he's going. There are a lot of people inside WWE that believe he's going there when his contract's out.
I
hope he does.
Well, you guys see his tweet where he pointed the coordinates from Mount Rushmore? That was an allusion to his faction in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla with the Young Bucks and Adam Cole pre-Bullet Club.
True.
Yeah, that's where that was. I could see. I think it'd be amazing if that happens and you have him join the Elite like that. Not only do you have like pieces of the Bullet Club, now you have the Mount Rushmore faction in there too.
Let me throw in some devil's advocate at you though.
Okay.
With Steen coming in to the Elite, like is Steen coming in now with all the other guys?
I love that he calls him Steen.
To value the Varsity Blondes, Jurassic Express, Pretty Picture, what the fuck the Acclaimed, the homegrown AEW teams.
Right.
Men of the Year. Sammy Guevara by himself.
But here's the thing about AEW. This is also where they kind of get things a little bit wrong too. They put more focus on the ex-WWE guys because that's what Tony with the Khans want. That's what TNT wants. Where they should be home training and home tailoring their indie darlings that they've signed that are not known names yet, but have become known because of that, like the Darby Allins, the MJFs, the Jungle Boys.
You know what? I feel while they're not necessarily doing that with the men, they're doing that great with the women.
I agree and disagree.
Like Tay Conte and Red Velvet. I mean, that's what Dark's
Kylie
doing,
King, Big
That's
Swole.
what Dark's doing, though. It's Dark that's kind of helping it push over to Dynamite, and now.
What I do like about Dark and Elevation, though, too, is like every once in a while you will get a big name on there. Like a Moxley will compete on a Dark and Dark Elevation.
Omega's been.
I can promise you. I can promise you right now. You will probably never again see Drew McIntyre ever on WWE main event ever again.
I hope you're right. You made me watch a fantasy.
The biggest name nowadays you will get on WWE main event is Jeff Hardy. That's the biggest name you'll get on main event now.
Oh, you mean Job Hardy? Because now he's a jobber again.
Oh God! Don't get me started on that.
Who won to Karrion Kross? Who killed Karrion Kross's undefeated streak?
God!
Technically, the man never had the undefeated streak to begin with because that was his first match on the main roster. So it never was an undefeated streak to begin with.
Well, he was still the NXT champion at the time. He was
he was undefeated on NXT.
Right?
Yes.
But again, there's so many misused guys in WWE. Jeff Hardy, what they're doing with Jeff Hardy is just sad because I get like he's at a later point in his career, but it's like he deserves better than this.
Right.
But you know what? Here's the thing. I go 10 steps further, Chuck. Even as a sports fan, when you see guys that you grew up with or you've seen their whole careers deteriorate, it breaks your heart. It breaks my heart seeing these guys who can hardly walk continue to get in the ring. Hung it up a class at the Hall of Fame, stay retired. Ric Flair, his retirement was so emotional, he screwed that up. Guys can't stay away from this. It's like a drug.
Exactly.
Okay? And you know what? When they beat up like these legends, that's not how I want to remember the legends. Big Show, I was sick of seeing Big Show 20 years ago. You think I would have seen Big Show take on Billy Gunn? You got it. This is 2021.
What is it? What is it?
2001.
It's attitude era, but now, except that again, look, I'm the biggest fan of the Attitude Era ever. Like, I'm the biggest mark for the Attitude Era ever. I still go back and watch those shows constantly, but I don't want to see that shit anymore. If I want to watch that, I'll watch what it was. You don't want to give me that now. It's different now. You can't have that now.
Yep, the Attitude Era was great 20 years ago. You know,
Right.
let's do something else.
No, but the problem is you got too many people online complaining that they want like you got too many people that want it back like tomorrow. That's the problem. You got too many people
But
that
here's
want
the
it back
kicker about
tomorrow.
that, Rod. The second you give them that, they're gonna find another way to bitch about it.
Brian,
Straight up, they're gonna find another way to bitch about it.
Brian, Rod, it's not about Billy Gunn. It's about the kids. It's about the other Gunn.
No, of course. Well, that's like Rey Mysterio now with Dominic. It's about putting Dominic over. He's putting the kids over. A lot of them do that. I get it.
Hinted the heel turn when they stood there and did nothing, and Tony Schiavone called them scum.
I thought it was Excalibur that called them that.
Whoever
Oh,
it was.
Excalibur. Okay,
One of the
well,
two said it.
whoever said it, it was putting the attention on Austin and Colton. And
I get
that's
it.
great, in a way. Okay, now there's more attention on these two guys, and let's see how they
Adapt to.
story.
They adapt to it, of course.
Yeah.
Like my whole thing with like a lot of these older, like I love seeing the older wrestlers. I do. I'm the king of nostalgia. I own that. If I could relive my nostalgia the rest of my life, I could. But there's a point where it's like, you guys are so
like for
old, they're
example,
so banged up.
And I've been one of his biggest fans for years and years and years, especially like during the late '90s. But do I really need to see Goldberg on a major pay-per-view getting a WWE title match?
Absolutely not.
No, those matches are terrible.
Not.
Goldberg's match with Bobby Lashley was trash. That match was garbage.
That was, and that's horrible for Lashley too, because Lashley's been a great WWE champion.
Listen, Goldberg was it really, what's so interesting about Goldberg, okay, is that WWE was the only company where a wrestler could get away with the wrestler Goldberg was, okay? Goldberg has one ability. He can draw, okay?
And he can, and that's why he gets all these title matches.
Once you have that, you don't need anything else. It's all about the money. It's all about paying the bills and putting food on the table. He does that. Okay,
That's why they did. That's the reason they bring it back.
Yep.
You don't ask me how he does that, because fuck if I know. I never saw what was so good about him, but he had a way of making money, and that is why now. But that being said, it's 2021. Enough with the 90s. WWE has one of the best rosters of hot young talent that they've ever had, and yet you use
they don't know that, Brian.
They don't. They do, but they don't
seem to know that.
They do and they don't. They do.
Jay.
They do and they don't, because they know who they have. The problem is they have so much of it they don't know what to do with half of it.
Yeah, sir.
That's why you have a guy like Ricochet, and I used to say, and I love Ricochet. He's like one of my favorite indie wrestlers ever, and I love everything he's done. His New Japan stuff was good. His indie stuff was good. His Lucha Underground stuff was good. And I even said
he still right now never recovered from Crown Jewel last year. He never recovered from Crown Jewel like when he fought Lesnar for the title.
What are you going to say about
hit.
No, I'm just saying, like, his current run is the worst thing I've ever seen him do. I was saying that
he still, like I said, he still never recovered from his match with Brock. Ever since that match that happened with Brock, that was it.
He had some wins, but he just, I feel like nothing. What was the less valuable thing Ricochet did of value?
I'll be honest with you. PWI said in last issue, the best feud you didn't see. Ricochet Ali on the main event.
Oh, I saw that 2 out of 3 falls match. That match was amazing.
That was a good match. I watched
that match was amazing.
Two guys that have just been horribly used. And let me ask you guys this question, and maybe you've talked about this in previous episodes, but I want to ask you guys, and while you guys are thinking, I'll tell you mine. Who is the most misused guy in WWE or lady? Okay, and in my opinion, it has to be Shinsuke Nakamura. This is a legend in Japan. This is the first WWE's tried bringing in Japanese talent. It's always been a disaster because the guys usually suck to begin with. This is a legend in Japan. This guy went in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame the first year of eligibility. Okay, he is a legend in Japan, and he was doing well, and he did well in NXT. He was doing well in WWE until they turned him heel. Then you got that don't speak English. Then you have him as a tag team with Cesaro. Both guys have to be asking each other, what the fuck are we doing here? Yeah. And now you have him as the stupid king gimmick. Okay. But, he gets my vote for most misused.
Don't forget this. He has what is supposed to be one of the most coveted titles in the company, and they're not using him correctly as the Intercontinental Champion.
No, they're not.
Right.
That's bullshit. He should have had a match on the last pay-per-view, and he was the only champion who didn't, and that was pure bullshit.
That was garbage. To your comment, I'm going to say I have top three most underutilized guys in WWE. We just touched on all three of them currently. For me, Nakamura, Cesaro, and Ricochet are the three most underutilized guys in WWE. Straight up.
Sure.
I'm going to go with Ricochet. Cesaro is definitely they were kind of pushing him, but no.
They debunked it though. Every time they push him, they saddle him in either another mid-card feud or they throw him in another bullshit tag team.
Liv Morgan.
I would agree. I could agree.
No,
okay,
her and Naomi would be my top two females.
No, but who's your pick, Rod? And then I'll tell you my most misused woman. It's a no-brainer in my opinion. There is no number two, but go ahead, Rod. Your most underused, misused wrestler in WWE.
All right, I'll start. Since you guys did the men, I'll start with my lady picks. My lady picks would be Liv and Naomi, top two as far as like misused lady. Now, as far as the men go, Ali's definitely up there. He's up there.
100%.
You realize that it was booked that he was supposed to win Money in the Bank that year, and he didn't even find out till the match began that they was giving it to Lesnar. He was supposed to win Money in the Bank that year.
Sure.
Wow.
But of course, you had to give it to Brock though, because and here's the difference between Brock and Goldberg. At least when Goldberg wins titles, it's a month and then he's gone. He doesn't hold the title for a year and a half with like 4 defenses like Brock does. He doesn't sit. He's not a champion that sits at home for like a whole year and has like 3 title defenses.
And you don't think that Roman Reigns is just keeping the belt warm for Lesnar to have another title run?
Oh God, that makes
probably.
Me sick. And that makes me sick right there.
And you guys don't think? Because again, WWE is doing this.
Oh no! Because it's private, and I bet you any amount of money, and I'm willing to bet you any amount of money. Lesnar's going to win it when they go to Saudi Arabia. That's when Lesnar's probably going to win it.
Finn Balor, they really fucked him.
Here's the thing. He's another one who's underutilized, but I mean, Balor's my favorite wrestler, like period, right now. I don't want to say he's underutilized. He's misutilized.
He should be.
There's a difference.
He should be the champion. He should be the one.
The man is a tag title away from being a Grand Slam champion. So
before we get ahead of ourselves, Brian, you were going to mention underused woman.
Yes, to me, it's a no-brainer. And she is misused right down to her name, and that is Piper Niven, a.k.a.
Doudrop.
Yeah, I agree.
Not even close. This is a woman who, yes, she weighs a few pounds, but this woman can go. She could work. She was.
Oh, I agree. Like I watched NXT UK. She was amazing over there.
She was insane. This is a woman.
And she's over.
And she was way over. And this is a woman who it would be hard not to like her because this is a good-looking girl who is plus size, who can work. She has an ability to connect with the fans, okay? And they have misused her right down to the name Doudrop. Are you friggin' kidding me?
You know why I didn't put her on that list yet?
One last thing about Piper Niven and Doudrop, and this is another reason why she's so horribly used. They are doing, by putting her in those friggin' cupcake pigtails, they're making her a second coming of Bertha Faye.
Basically.
Talking about bad gimmicks that shouldn't be recycled.
It's exactly what it is.
Bertha Faye is another one. You don't want friggin' Eva Marie being the Harvey Whippleman to Doudrop's Bertha Faye. Okay?
That's what it should be, but no.
God bless. And that was one last thing, Chuck. God bless, Bertha Faye,
Yes,
Rhonda
rest in
Faye,
peace.
wherever she is.
Yeah.
That was another plus size woman who could work. She got big in Japan before she came to the United States as
Right.
Bertha Faye. That
Just
was
like
a
Bull
heavy woman.
Nakano. Just like Bull
Yep.
Nakano.
Bull Nakano.
Bull Nakano is a legend.
Aja Khan. What were you going to say, Chuck, about the Doudrop?
Oh, just the fact that, like, again, and she's actually the one plus size woman that you don't have to make a heel. You can babyface her and you'll beat over. You
And
can
she
work
won't
her
kill
either
half the
way.
roster
You
either.
have a golden opportunity with her. You can babyface her or heel her, and she'll be great either way.
And she won't like destroy possibly half your roster either. But what I was going to say is the reason why I didn't put her there yet is because I just don't think she's been on the main roster long enough yet to say she's being misused yet. That's the only reason why I did not put her. Not saying that I don't agree with what you guys say. My reason for why I did not put her is because I don't think she's been on the main roster long enough yet to say that. Maybe like another 2-3 months if this trend continues. Oh yeah. But right now, the reason why I didn't.
I'm not disagreeing with your choices. Your choices are good, but to me, it's not even close. Piper Niven.
Oh no, I agree. I'm just saying that the reason I didn't put her up there with
I hear you.
Liv and Naomi's because I don't think she's been on the main roster long enough.
Her story's still being
misused yet.
You know who I thought was horribly misused before they were released? Both of them, the Iconics. Whether they were together or they were not together, they were the two most misutilized talents they had. Billy Kay was a
you got Kevin Dunn talking about, I ain't get Billy Kay.
Billy Kay was like
thing. Go ahead.
Billy Kay was like one of the best entertaining women they had.
That resume gimmick was great. I love that resume gimmick. That thing was hilarious.
What are they
Inspiration?
Inspiration with the extra.
I did not like the resume gimmick. I thought it made her look terrible. Unfortunately,
she got it over though. That's what I like about it. She actually got it over though.
Funny.
A gimmick like that was hilarious. I loved it, and it got her a lot more TV time than Royce.
The other problem was
Royce was supposed to be the superstar of the two. She got more TV time than Royce. Hey, she actually made it to WrestleMania. I didn't see Peyton Royce on WrestleMania.
The funny thing about the Iconics was that, in my opinion, I watched them NXT. I always thought that Billy Kay was the stronger talent than Peyton Royce, but you could tell by their looks and how WWE is that they were going to push Peyton Royce over Billy Kay. You knew that. That's just their formula.
You thought that was going to happen.
But here's where they went wrong with them. Because every time they want to push one, they put it literally the same thing that happened to Billy Kay and Peyton Royce happened to Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase when they broke Legacy up. You kept DiBiase on Raw because you thought he was going to be the bigger talent and Cody was going to flounder on SmackDown. Where
you know why DiBiase got put on Raw though, right? Because they were trying to push the Marine 2. That's why.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Because remember when that split happened, the Marine 2 had came out. That split happened. So
that's true. But yeah, my point was
that
I
think they went
got
wrong
lost in the shuffle and Raw, and then like the people where there's a little more room for stuff on SmackDown, they thrive because they had the time and they were given those platforms where the guys that they had the hopes for, there was too much going on where they didn't have the time to squeeze them in or whatever.
There's a group actually that should be where the inspiration should be, but it's Madison Rayne and Tennille Dashwood.
Oh, you talk about the influence.
The influence, but I think it would have been perfect if Royce and what are they calling them? Cassie and
Cassie Lee, Jessica McKay.
Jessica is it? I think she's just going by Jessica K now. But anyway, I think the three of them should do something together because I mean they're best friends in real life. The three of them.
Well, now that they're Little Visa situation is taken care of, they can go anywhere they want to now.
Yeah, but what do you do with the inspiration? Because Madison Rayne coming back and working with Tennille Dashwood is another great thing that Impact's doing right now. I like it.
Sure. No, it is reminiscent to the Iconics. And I just want to say about the Iconics, Chuck, you bring up the Iconics, but the Iconics were a fascinating story. The reason being, Peyton Royce was horrible in the ring, and Billy Kay made Peyton Royce look like Danny Hodge. And yet, here they are winning the tag titles at WrestleMania. And the reason being, like Jay said, I think what really got them to connect with the fans was they really do love each other. They're best friends in real life. They call themselves like partners. And when you saw them with that pay-per-view in Australia after they won in Australia,
when they
won in
beat
WrestleMania, the way
it was
they
Oscar and
Super
Naomi, I think they
Showdown,
beat in that
whatever it
match.
was.
Yeah.
whatever
They beat
it was,
Oscar and Naomi in that match. I remember that. Naomi took the pinfall.
This guy, I thought I had a good memory. This guy's got a good memory. But anywho,
Yeah, he's pretty on point.
when they won in Australia, when they won at WrestleMania, when you see them look at each other and hug each other and the legit smiles,
I know.
to me, that's what's missing. One of the many things that's missing in wrestling is wrestlers just having fun out there and looking like they're having fun. But I agree with you.
That's
Listen,
AEW,
they were horrible in the ring. They were horrible in the ring. But they made it.
Yeah, that's how the run was hard. They legit might have been the worst tag champions.
I feel like in real life, most tag teams actually hate each other because they realize they're going out there, oh, we're a tag team, that's great. And they're deep down their heads thinking, fuck, I could be making way more money as a singles being a world champion.
The Soul Patrol is probably the best example of that.
Not like that, FTR.
What'd you say,
FTR,
Brian?
that's what they want to do.
You know who's also like that too?
I'm sorry?
The New Day. The New Day's also like that. You know, like when they renegotiated their contracts, they renegotiated their contracts so each member made the same amount. It wasn't, oh, well, because Kofi is a former WWE champion, he's making more than Big E is. Like, no, they all are legit making the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Because that's how tight they are.
Right.
It was about
Break the news to Rod, though, Chuck. Break the news to Rod
Which news?
about the New Day.
oh God.
Do we need to do this? This is because this is a state. You know what? No, it has to be done because this has become an attention wrestling disorder staple.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know that
Oh my God. You two are two of the biggest damn degenerates I know, I swear. The haters.
It's hard.
Man, that performance they had freaking Monday was amazing.
Oh, Rod, I have a funny question for you, Rod.
That brings me somewhere. Thank you, Rod. That brings me to something. Because you said the word hater. The male version of my favorite, and I'm being sarcastic, female wrestler Riho is an Impact.
God.
Ba bullshit. Follow Ba.
Oh God, you leave him alone.
That's that larger guy, right? I don't follow Impact. He's
teamed with TJP and No Way Jose.
Right now. Right. Okay.
He's tough.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Oh, Rod, here's a question for you. Top 5 heel turns of wrestlers because fans are haters. Go for you.
Oh, definitely New Day, late 2014, 2015. Them definitely. The Bret Hart 97 turn.
Because the fans were haters?
Yes. Let's see now.
I'm trying to think who you. I want to hear this because you get upset when wrestlers turn heel because fans are haters.
Okay. Oh, those two are definitely tiles for sure. I might have to get back to you with the other three. I was expecting
the
that
hockey
question.
tile fan turned heel because the fans are haters.
The Rock.
Fans are haters. Look at my eyebrow.
Oh my God.
Why Rocky died?
Because
The
Rod
Rock
loves
is
The
probably
Rock.
the best example of that.
Rod doesn't like The Rock like that, though.
The Rock is
I
probably the best
used
example
to,
of
but you know, yeah.
According to Rod, The Rock is a Hollywood sellout.
Oh, he definitely was. But
So is John Cena though on that logic.
No. John Cena left for Hollywood, like late in his career. So no, nice try though.
And he said he
Nice
would
try.
never do that, by the way.
Nice try.
He broke his word to his fans, so he's actually that's a real heel right there.
Yeah, okay.
By the way,
Roman
Rod is like the
Reigns
biggest John Cena fan in the world.
Roman Reigns, because fans are haters.
Roman Reigns is another one.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
But now that he's a heel, the fans love him.
Yeah.
He's doing his best work ever because he's a heel.
Go figure.
You're finally getting the moment. What happened?
Rock is probably the best example of that. And I gotta say, 3 guys who are better heels than faces, but they have to be faces because they just make too much money. Rock, Shawn Michaels, Jake Roberts. I mean, there's more, but it all comes down to those 3. I mean, I'll take Shawn Michaels as a heel.
Did you say Rock or Brock?
Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah. But
what about John
no one
Cena?
cares about
What
face
about
like
John
that.
Cena?
John Cena will never
No,
be a
he
heel.
makes too much money as a face. He's much better
But
face
he'll
than
never-
heel.
As much as I want,
he wanted to be heel, and they would never let him turn. He wanted to be heel for the Rock angle. I've said it on the show before. they would never let him turn.
I think what's keeping them from turning Cena heel is the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
That's all it is.
It's too big a name from Make-A-Wish. Now, I understand they turned Daniel Bryan heel. He was a big Make-A-Wish guy too, but not to the extent of John Cena.
No
John
one
Cena is
touches
the biggest
Cena.
celebrity
You're
in the
forgetting
history of
someone.
Make-A-Wish.
How about the other guy who was a big heel when he was getting a lot of Make-A-Wish Foundation requests? I can't. Hold on. Fuck it. I'm trying to do CM Punk's thing, but my phone keeps fucking up.
Yeah, he wasn't getting nearly as many as Cena. No one gets as many as Cena. No one.
But CM Punk did get
Not even Hogan in the 80s when Make-A-Wish first came out. Hogan in the 80s didn't get as many as Cena got.
All right.
Make-A-Wish was also a way
It was
smaller
a
organization in
different
the
time,
80s. Also, you got to remember, Make-A-Wish was a lot smaller in the 80s than it is now. The way it's
Exactly.
operated.
So I said it's a different time.
Yeah, I think the way that Make-A-Wish is operated, I think for the time it was comparable, but on numbers on paper, yes, Cena more so than Hogan because of how they operate now. They were a smaller company back in the 80s. They weren't getting the same reach in the 80s that they get today. They didn't.
Right.
So that's part of it.
Sure.
Oh, speaking of I'm doing wonderful things for little kids and stuff. Did you guys hear about Al Snow today?
No.
I heard briefly.
What happened?
He saved some kid from drowning today.
Good for him.
God bless.
Good for
Hopefully somebody will capitalize on it. Unlike the time Chris Masters went in that fire, to get people, that would have been a perfect opportunity to WWE to bring them back and make something out of it. They did nothing. So hopefully somebody pays attention to this. That's a good story that people should know.
And how about this? I mean, Rod said it. I think Chuck has said it. How about a guy who died trying to save his own kid and
Chad Gaspard.
that warrior?
Gaspard.
You know
what
what?
I actually have, and I actually might have to frame it. I got one of my ex-girlfriends got one of those mystery wrestling boxes. The autograph was Crime Time. I might have to frame
Nice.
it. The other box I got was Matt Riddle before he debuted. Matt Riddle.
Not a Riddle guy. Not a Riddle guy.
Nice.
I like Matt Riddle. But going back to the misuse of wrestlers in WWE or how their current state is, who would have thought that Matt Riddle would be the most consistent mid-carder they had of the new regime?
I think
there's
he's
hope
more
for that
than a
place.
mid-carder now, main eventing with Randy Orton.
But you know what I hate, and they've been doing this and it always makes my blood boil. This one name wonder crap. Okay, they're not strippers. Okay, Sheamus. Like Alexander Rusev, Antonio Cesaro, Andrade Almost, Andrade.
Mustafa Ali, they just called him Ali.
Ali and then Mustafa Ali. Riddle.
Then it went back to Mustafa. Hopefully they go back to Matt Riddle because just calling him Riddle is just so freaking stupid.
I agree.
It's dumb. I agree.
You think they're going to do
They've been doing it for a while. They've been doing it. You got to remember, they were doing this since the 90s when they shortened Farouk Assad to Farouk. Now, for understandable reasons. There was some going on in the Middle East where the Ayatollah was Assad or something like that.
Yeah,
so
I get that.
Yeah. That's one thing, okay? But I mean, shortening these names, it's just Adrian Neville. I mean, it's just, we're not strippers here, okay? Have a first name and a last name.
Brian, what's his name now in AEW?
What's whose name now? We must have mentioned about 20 guys.
You said Adrian Neville's Neville, but as far as I know, he's just
Pac.
One name, Pac.
He was Pac before he was Neville. He's been Pac for years.
I know that. The point I'm saying is the name works.
Right.
Yeah, because
Sometimes
that was his name.
it
It wasn't like they gave him a name and they shortened it. That was his legitimate name.
Right. Exactly.
It wasn't like Adrian Pac. It was just Pac.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, listen, one names have been around forever, Kamala, stuff like that. But when they give somebody a name and then shorten it, I hate that. It doesn't look
That's
good.
annoying.
It's very annoying.
It's their way of trying to market.
Yeah, it's too consistent that they do that too. Consistent.
It's because they want to make it sound more marketable, and I get it, but it doesn't always work.
Sheamus sounds better than Sheamus O'Shea, and that's what he was originally, Sheamus O'Shea.
Sheamus O'Shaughnessy, yeah.
Yeah.
O'Shaughnessy, okay.
See, that's what I don't
It's an Irish
get. The possibilities are endless. What you can do with his initials, SOS.
Yeah, true.
You know. The logic doesn't work in this company, so we don't do it that way.
Well,
I'm
I'm still
glad
convinced
you
that
guys
Vince
got
Russo is
it.
still secretly writing for them.
Well, he did work on a project with them recently, so you never know.
You never know what's right.
How about, I mean, what sounds better though? Dave Batista or Batista?
Well, his name has always been
Biggie
Batista.
Langston or Big E.
They
I
never,
actually like Deacon Batista.
Deacon Batista was hilarious. I enjoyed that. It was funny.
Yeah.
Big muscular guy collecting donations. Apparently they legitimately kept that money too. Like they didn't like.
I heard, yeah.
Hey, they pocketed that.
You
Good
know-
for them.
you know,
It was like working for
before-
tips.
Before
That's smart. They're working for tips. Good for them.
came out with that gimmick, like he asked his dad, he actually asked his dad if it'd be okay to do it. His dad gave him his blessing, so that's why Reverend Devon happened. Had his dad said no, Reverend Devon, it would have never happened.
I'll tell you guys an interesting story. I met Ted DiBiase a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about those vignettes, those skits where you have the kids come up with the basketball and push up. And those they were all randomly selected. None of them were planned. So all randomly selected, and everybody got the money after the skit. But it was because he said at first everybody he was handing people money and they were cheering for him. They said, we can't do that. We got to get this guy to boo us. And there you go. In my opinion, the greatest heel of all time, right there. And the greatest heel in my opinion, the best heel ever, because he painted the picture of money being the root of all evil. And and I did ask him. I'm sorry.
I was watching an interview and I found out it was literally that's one of the best gimmicks ever for heel gimmick ever. And the crazy thing is that it was literally pitched to Ted DiBiase. He said in an interview, he goes, "If Vince McMahon could wear the tights, he would be the $1 Million Man."
Oh, without a doubt.
That was the gimmick that Vince would have given himself.
But those early vignettes of him like in the mansion, driving the car, wearing the fur coat, that was all Vince McMahon's. And I asked him where the the hospital vignette, the pool vignette, that was all done in Houston. Pritchard produced those. And what he said that was interesting, I asked him, there was rumors for years that Virgil was a work. It was a knock on Dusty Rhodes, whose real first name is Virgil.
Virgil, right.
And they said that might have been where they got the idea for the name, but it wasn't a knock on Dusty.
No.
But so I found that interesting. But yeah,
I knew
in my opinion, $1 Million Man, greatest heel of all time.
So let me ask you this. Do you think it's kind of an insult the way they brought him back to NXT? Because he's not dressed up, in his $1 Million suits. He comes out of the limo and stuff, but he doesn't look like the $1 Million Man anymore. And he's a good guy.
Again, there's a point where when you're a legend, you can't be a heel anymore because you're a fucking legend.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. You can't.
No, that's a Jake. Jake came back as a heel,
and it hasn't worked.
And now they babyface.
Technically,
like even though Lance Archer does heelish things, he's still considered a babyface.
Yeah.
Actually, wait a minute. Tully Blanchard.
Tully Blanchard was never liked to begin with, and he's known to be an asshole out of the ring. He's one of the biggest heat getters in the history. Him and Jacques Rougeau, big heat get. Nobody liked Tully to begin with.
Well, this was the same dude that he was one of the first dudes who actually legit got fired for drug use. So
no, my point is big name heel legends like Ric Flair. You can make Ric Flair work as heel if you're putting him with Charlotte, but as a standalone appearance,
no,
you can't use Ric Flair as a heel because he's a legend.
Yep. That's a
$1 Million Man is a standalone character for an appearance. He's a babyface because he's a legend.
As far as what he's wearing goes, you know what he looks like? He looks like what he is, a retired wrestler living in Florida. That's what they look.
He looks like a guy
he looks like Florida.
Actually, he looks like a guy because he's a born again Christian and all that stuff, and that comes off too. Because he had a very corrupt life and he found God.
And speaking of Flair.
That's what
it was good seeing him. I enjoyed that speech he gave at 73.
Oh, yeah. Flair,
that was a great speech he gave at 73 because he didn't go in there bashing WWE, nothing like that. He gave a very emotional and passionate speech.
Because the top notch pros are the ones who leave companies and they don't bury the company. They're grateful for their time. They understand that it can't last forever. it's time for them to move on and they make the next chapter. Damian Sandow.
Here's the thing, Chuck. Whoa. Chuck, here's the thing with that. Ric Flair, and I love Ric Flair, don't get me wrong, but Ric Flair is as big a puppet as it gets. He will always kiss the ass of the company he works for.
Of
And
course.
when he went to Impact, the night he came out of retirement, which was a complete
I
embarrassment.
hated that. I didn't watch Impact. I refuse to watch Impact.
In his book too, saying he thinks that was a mistake. If you
Oh,
the book he did with Charlotte,
I just wish he thought it was a mistake at the time, because with that promo he cut before the match, he said, he ends it with, and that's the bottom line because Ric Flair said so. And I've been saying that years before Steve Austin. So now here you are ripping the WWE's arguably biggest star of all time. And the guy that you have said in his Hall of Fame induction speech, Ric Flair, said Stone Cold Steve Austin is the biggest star in the history of the business. I'm sick of hearing Hogan. That ends tonight. And now here you are taking a dig at him. Okay, so he's, he hasn't always been the most professional person.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. In recent, he has, but I agree with you.
And I love Flair.
You would have never seen the woo off with him and Jay Lethal.
Oh, that was classic. That
was awesome.
That was funny.
Awesome.
That was actually.
You know what's funny? Why you mentioning Jay Lethal? Like, I was reading the thing about Jeff Jarrett, and Jarrett was like, he's amazed to this day that Lethal never made it to WWE.
Yeah.
Like, doing like from like 06 to like 2011, he thought every year that they was gonna lose Lethal to WWE because he's like, Lethal was the total package. He had it all. He legitimately thought every year.
Like Ricochet, to be honest.
They would misuse him. They would have no idea what to do with him.
Probably not. You know what they would probably do? They go over the hill with his impressions. I mean, it was always interesting to see a black man.
They would have done they would have repackaged the Charlie Haas gimmick where he made fun of everybody.
God,
he would have with Jay
Black
Lethal.
Machismo.
Yeah, he would have. No, literally. Remember when they did that whole thing with Charlie Haas, where he was impersonating other wrestlers?
Right.
They would have done that with Jay Lethal.
Like Sandow?
Oh, God.
Oh, Sandow did exactly, or Sandow did it.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, Hart did it before Sandow, but yeah.
But my point was going back to Sandow. I was watching one of his shoots, and he was like the first one to say, I don't harbor ill will. Like, it's not about what should or shouldn't happen. Things happen. It's time to move on. I'm happy for my time here. It's time to move on and make the best of my next move. And that's what he's done. And he's killing it in NWA right now. I love Aaron Stevens in NWA.
I have to say something because you mentioned NWA. We've been talking about 73. I mean, the women's pay-per-view.
Empower. That was incredible.
I'm not looking forward. Maybe I'm the only one out of the four of you. I don't know about you, Brian. I mean, maybe I'm not really interested in the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. The matches just are not grabbing me.
I disagree. I'm in for definitely.
I think if anything with Ring of Honor is one of those brands because it's technically still an indie. Like, if you strictly watch their pay-per-views, you get the gist of their show, and their pay-per-views never disappoint to me.
I agree.
Match card. I don't like the match card.
I just,
the
only thing I don't like about Ring of Honor is
it's still gonna deliver. I feel like
the only thing I don't like about Ring of Honor is the fact that like I can't, Honor Club isn't available for the Fire Stick or Roku. If it was, I have an Honor Club account. That's the only reason why I don't have an Honor Club, because I don't like watching shows on my phone or on my laptop unless it's like on YouTube. I'd rather watch it on my TV.
Right. No, I get you. No, I love Ring of Honor.
I get that. No, that's a very fair point. I think they lose viewership with that, which brings us to it. I want to ask this question because I don't know. The buy rate for AEW has that, because I'm curious not only what the buy rate was for All Out, but also it was Sunday of Labor Day weekend, which can be the kiss of death. I wonder if that cost them at all.
I feel like they did a great buy rate because
I heard it was an amazing buy rate.
It was a good buy rate for the sheer fact that they put all their tools. If you watch AEW, All Out's always their best event. They always put all the tools into All Out.
It's the WrestleMania of AEW.
And it's gonna be, and they put all the tools out for that. So I think
considered that at one point.
I think even though it was Labor Day weekend, I think the reason it did good is because you knew what you were getting, and there was like the fact alone that CM Punk was having his first match in 7.5 years was the buy rate. alone.
Absolutely. And
Alone.
I commend and tip my hat to AEW for not doing what WWE would do and make that the main event. No, the heavyweight title match is always the main event. The only time the heavyweight title match is not the main event is at the Royal Rumble. Okay. And, you know, we got Survivor Series coming up. I've been screaming for years how to bring back Survivor Series. Go back to nothing but elimination matches. The titles don't need to be defended every fucking show. And that is why they're running out of ideas. The booking is way too fast. Way too fast.
Yeah, that was like a thing they started doing a few years ago where, like, you know, wasn't it like where they're taking it's SmackDown versus Raw and the title. And that's not what Survivor Series was at all. It was these elimination matches. That's what it was all the time.
Right.
And it's like they took it away from me.
It was a gimmick pay-per-view, and it was a good gimmick pay-per-view, and it was something different. It was a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely.
And then they took that away because they have too much talent. And honestly, that would be a good time to bring it back because they have so much talent that they could utilize on all levels of the card, and you could have good things.
The best thing
like the last time they really had like an event where they didn't have that many title matches for Survivor Series, I think it was like what was it, 2016, where you had like the tag team Raw versus SmackDown Classic Survivor Series match, the women's, the men's, and the two world champions of the respective brands at the time. AJ and KO were the team captains.
Right, and that's.
I mean, I like.
Now they just do it now, like, you know, like every champion has.
But they did bring an NXT.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do like what they do, having the champions of one brand going against the champions of another brand. You know, the year they threw NXT in there, that kind of, you know, spicing things up a little bit. What I like about what Chuck said, having
sorry, I lost service there for a second.
I hope that's the thumbnail when I post this.
Oh my God, such a degenerate.
Having the nothing but, like you said, it gives the opportunity, since they have such a big roster, you get all the guys on there, not to mention the guys that never see the light of day on TV. It gives them the pay-per-view payday. So, you know, let's share the wealth a little bit here, and let's do nothing. It's probably never going to happen because they just don't think that way. They don't think logically. Okay. But let's go back to what made Survivor Series special. And that was the elimination matches. So what? It's not competing with Starrcade anymore. You're competing with yourself, which is sometimes the hardest person to compete with.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. If they are doing the Universal versus WWE champion again at Survivor Series, please, for the love of God, either give us Lashley versus Roman, which would be a great match, or finally give us the match that everybody's been wanting to see for years now, Lashley versus Lesnar.
Yeah.
Give us one of those two matches, please.
Well, you know what? And this brings us back, you know, to the Punk Darby match. Okay. What I think, what you're proposing, Reigns against Lashley, what that has working against is you got a heel against a heel. And that is very hard to pull off. It happened a few years ago. You had Daniel Bryan against Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. Two heels taking on it, and the crowd could only get so involved. It's always more, matches are almost always more fun and even better when it's a face against a heel. And what I think, don't get me wrong, Punk Darby was an excellent match. But I think the problem I had with it was you had a face taking on a face. The crowd was behind CM Punk, no question, the hometown hero. But they couldn't boo Darby because everybody loves Darby. How can you not love Darby? So it was a great match, don't get me wrong.
You know what that reminds me of, Brian? Because you're talking about like heel versus heel. When it was still new, that whole heel versus heel concept was when you saw Shawn Michaels versus fought Rick Martel.
No punching in the face,
yeah. The SummerSlam, what was it, 92, I believe it was?
Which I read a rumor, originally it didn't wind up happening, but originally that was supposed to be a Rick Martel face turn, but they nixed the face turn. I heard a rumor that he was actually supposed to be babyface after that, but they nixed the turn for whatever reason.
I'll give you another perfect example. You know, the the Bret Hart British Bulldog match at SummerSlam.
Oh,
Yes.
my
To this
favorite.
day,
That's one of my favorite
considered
matches
one of the
ever.
best SummerSlam matches ever. Okay. However, the match they had it in your house, December of '95, I think it was.
Oh, I remember that
might-
match.
Might have been better. Why? Because you had a face taking on a heel.
It was the
It's
storytelling
almost
within the
always
match.
better.
Yeah.
And plus, Davey Boy was in a lot better shape for that match than he was the SummerSlam '92 match in what's name, because he was out of shape. Bret literally carried that whole match pretty much,
Right. That too.
which makes it
also
even
back
more
in
incredible. A
92,
match
that
like
was-
that, Bret was able to call that match to the greatness.
Well, Davey
that it
was
wound
also
up
really
being.
fucked up on drugs in '92. A lot of people
Oh,
forget
yeah, 'cause
that.
him
He
and
was
Warrior
really
was
fucked
taking-
up on drugs.
Him and
back then.
Warrior was like
They really made
experimenting
him
with
look
HGH
good,
at the time.
Yeah.
Bret didn't look good.
He really did.
Because again, I break your balls because you both love Bret Hart, so I like to be obnoxious about it. But Bret Hart can make anybody look good in a match. That's what made him great.
Without a doubt. You know what I mean? That maybe on a future show, what I really like to hear from you guys is feuds of the 90s. And I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, this is why Bret Hart was the wrestler of the 90s. The 90s lists weren't really talked about because everybody's worried about the new millennium. Everybody's talking about the greatest of the millennium instead of the greatest of the 90s. Bret Hart,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, Sting's up there, Shawn Michaels. There were a lot of great wrestlers in the 90s. Bret Hart owned the 90s. And the reason being, if you put top 10 list of feuds of the 90s, Bret is in probably almost half of them. Owen, Austin,
Yep.
HBK, Jerry Lawler, okay?
Yep.
Some of the best feuds of the
Right.
90s, Bret was it.
And here's the thing about Bret in the '90s too.
Perfect. Bret versus Perfect.
That was a great
Yes.
match too.
Well, that was a match. That wasn't a feud. That
No,
was a
there
match. I
were
agree.
two matches. He had
There were-
two matches with Henning.
They were never like a formal feud, but they had good matches. But what I will say is, hey guys, remember Bret Hart's run WCW? Oh yeah, me neither. Remember that?
Rob,
I
what were
mean,
you gonna say, Rob?
he was a Grand Slam champion. So
This is true.
remember,
But-
he was a
Rod,
triple
what were you
crown
gonna
winner
say
in two
about,
different companies, the two biggest companies in the world. And Bret in the '90s was a triple crown winner for both companies.
And here's the kicker, though. But again, look at what he did in WCW. It's not really memorable. The most memorable thing that happened to Bret Hart in WCW is when Goldberg kicked him in the head so hard that ended his career.
Got the concussion.
Well, when he joined the NWO
God,
That wasn't really memorable.
the black and silver.
champion
Which
too.
time? Because he technically was members of both NWOs.
Unless you
No,
talk about the black and silver.
He was never. He was. I guess
He was
kind of
Hogan's fucking ally. He had the Hogan shirt on. He never wore the NWO shirt. He wore the Hogan shirt, but he was basically NWO.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm talking about when the NWO reformed with Jared.
Right.
The
I
black and
wasn't really
silver,
watching
yeah,
at
the
that point.
black,
I thought that
yeah,
was
the black and
trash.
silver.
NWO
Well, you know
2000
what
was
was
trash.
That was a couple of months before the infamous reboot, the legit infamous reboot when they stripped all the champions.
That was so terrible. That's
But
what
you know
killed
what?
that fucking company. That
Ric
whole-
Flair, but I agree with you, Chuck. Ric Flair made a really great comment. He was asked, what's the worst faction of all time? And he said, I'll go on record saying the NWO is the worst faction of all time. First of all, it was recycled. It was stolen from Japan, number one. Japan started it.
Yeah.
And number two, which is true, but listen, the NWO helped bring WCW back. It's also what killed it. It was NWO overkill. NWO overkill is what it was because WCW never, ever won. Okay? So that was the issue with,
Not true.
you know,
Not true. Larry Zbyszko beat Eric Bischoff.
Are you really going to tell me that Eric Bischoff is going to
They
beat
talking
Larry?
about the
I don't
90,
know.
they're talking about '97 Starrcade
I'm
when Sting
talking
won the
about-
title badge.
I'm talking about the Battle of Nitro was in the hands of
Yeah,
Zbyszko.
And when Sting beat Hogan to win the title
Right.
badge, DDP beat Kurt Hennig to win the US. It was Starrcade '97.
Right, but here's my point. But here's the thing with the NWO, and here's where they went wrong with it. That was a time where they were also left. That was also a time in wrestling where there was an overabundance of talent. And what did they do in WCW? Every time they know what to do with a guy, when they was like, "Oh, how can we get this guy over?" Oh, I know, throw an NWO shirt on him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, was Buff Bagwell over before he was in the
Okay.
NWO? No.
Hey, Brian, I want to ask you
That's
something
why I
real
think
quick.
it's up
Brian, I want to
top.
ask you something real quick because I always say this could have been a turning point in like the Monday Night Wars after the Attitude Era started. Did you ever watch that Nitro the night Rey Mysterio took on Ric Flair for the world title?
If I did, I don't remember it. I'm not gonna lie.
Was he
I
in
think,
the
in my
filthy animal?
opinion,
Because
had,
WWE wasn't memorable by that point.
had
Was he in the filthy
as
animal?
hot as no, this is before the filthy. This was when he's with the No Limit Soldiers. Ray was
Okay.
hot. Ray was hot. I think that really could have been a turning point. They would have let Ray beat Flair become world champion because Ray was hot. He literally finished number 4 in the PWI 500 that year. Ray Mysterio.
Right.
I think if they would have let him win the world title, then that could have really been a turning point right there.
Right.
That would have really got fans back into. They would have been like, "Oh my God, Rey Mysterio is the world champion! Finally, somebody new, somebody who's hot right now as the world champion,
Fresh.
somebody we want to see as the world champion."
I don't know.
I think that could have been a turning point. I'm not
I
going
don't
to say
think it would've been a
WCW
turning
would have
point,
won, but I think
it
that
would
would
have
have
been a
helped.
positive. I don't think it would have been a turning point, Rob, but I think it would have been a positive direction for WCW at that point. I don't think the turning point's a stretch just because there were a lot of other problems in WCW at that point. But I would say that it would have been a push in the right direction. It wouldn't have been a turning point, but it would have been the step in the right direction. Because every while, like the NWO got ridiculous because it was like, oh well, who's gonna join this week and who are we gonna put over? It was like, but it was to the point where they were using it as a tool to get guys over. They like the American males were floundering. It had done its course. Oh, I know. Let's have Buff Bagwell turn on Scotty Riggs and throw an NWO shirt on him. Oh, hey, he's over now.
Right.
Same thing kind of happened with the Steiner brothers. Like, okay, the Steiner brothers thing is old, it's stale. Oh, I know. Let's throw a shirt on Scott Steiner and make him a heel. Actually, wound up being the best career move for him too.
It focused off of former WWF guys, and it just said let's just put anybody in there.
But
I said, it was NWO over.
And as much as we all are praising AEW, we all love it. AEW does that to a point with WWE too, and like it's not always good.
Right, but
like that's where they go wrong. Like they're so worried about what WWE's doing. Like WWE, except for the one Sami Zayn comment, has never publicly said shit about AEW on TV.
Well, they did in a way. Okay, when DX got inducted into the Hall of Fame, Triple H says to Billy Gunn, "Glad you came here from your shitbag promotion or whatever it was called."
Yeah.
But but other than that, but you know what? What's interesting is you can't help but wonder if WWE is at all worried about AEW yet, because on one hand, like CM Punk said, if Vince was worried about AEW, he never would have allowed Jericho to do that interview with Steve Austin.
No, of course not. It's true.
Right.
He literally in the interview said AEW is not competition for WWE. He literally said that in the interview.
Right.
Because let's go back to my point that I'm telling you, that's why WWE isn't changing their formats or changing anything. They're trying to prove to you we're an entertainment company. We're not wrestling.
And plus, you gotta realize too, Vince still has like this philosophy that the way he makes WWE better is buying out his competition. Like he's always done. That's his philosophy. He'll just buy out his competition
because he has the money to do so, and he'll spend his money like water to get what he wants. Exactly. But here's the kicker: Tony Khan and the Khan family are willing to do the exact same thing, and that's what makes them the potential to be legitimate competition. The best way to be competition is to stand out on the same level, and you both have the money to stand out that way. The reason TNA would never be competition to WWE was because they were never pulling the revenue that WWE was. They didn't have the shareholders, they didn't have the stockholders, they didn't have all that money backing that AEW has. That's why the only reason that AEW is going to be the closest thing to competition is because they have the money to back it.
Where Impact with Raw in 2010 was going against Raw. Having Impact go against Raw
because they didn't have the resources.
No, they didn't. And plus, Raw was getting all that publicity from having all those celebrity guest hosts at the time too. So
also Hulk Hogan, was there, and like again, Hulk Hogan. I love Hulk Hogan. I'm the biggest Hulk Hogan mark ever in the world. Like he was my first favorite guy. So a little kid in me will always love Hulk Hogan, but I also understand from a business standpoint where when Hulk Hogan has creative control, it can be a detriment to the companies that he's in. And that's kind of what happened with TNA a little bit, because he had so much stroke. And it was, if you watched early 2010, you got all these nostalgia names, but they got all fizzled out just as quick because you realize that it was just Hogan giving mercy contracts.
Pretty much.
There's no fucking reason why the Nasty Boys at 60 years old in 2010 should be fucking or in their 50s. Really. They were probably like 40s, 50s. But
Whatever
they were up there in age. There was no reason for them to be vocal wrestlers at that point. They were way past their prime. Like I get the Dream, Dudley Boys, Team 3D, Nasty Boys thing, but like it didn't translate because even at that point, Brian Knobbs was so shittily out of shape that he looked like shit in those matches. Jerry Saggs actually was in better shape in 2010 than he was in the whole 90s for their like illustrious runs.
And for all the garbage that TNA put out, that was the first time where they won the Google Award in WrestleCrap, the worst thing of the year. Finally went to a TNA creation. That was the new Monday Night Wars. And I've said for years, if a company really wants to compete with WWE, they got to go head to head with them. I do think AEW was working toward competing with Raw. I think
they're being
that's
smart
coming.
about it.
I'm sorry?
They're being smart about it because they're doing Wednesday.
Right.
But it was like the whole Wednesday Night War. But everyone's like, oh, but again, they did beat NXT out, but it wasn't like they beat NXT out by miles.
Right.
Because they're, again, I think the other thing too with AEW, which makes it appealing,
like NXT wasn't a bad show, and there are a lot of people who believe that Vince and them were taking over NXT because of the fact they lost to AEW. NXT wasn't a bad show. AEW was just better. That doesn't mean NXT was a bad show.
Though, but here's what's funny though. We were all talking about I'm talking like entertainment stuff in wrestling. On a wrestling level, NXT had better matches than Dynamite did a lot of times. But Dynamite, because it was their main show, was a more rounded show. It had the wrestling and the entertainment. Like NXT really didn't do a lot of promo. It was the matches were the focal point. At one point, NXT was the best wrestling brand in the States.
Sure. I agree.
Wrestling. I'm talking wrestling, not entertainment.
Sure.
Wrestling.
And
I would say it was better than Ring of Honor, and I say that solely because WWE and AEW raped Ring of Honor of all of its fucking talent, straight up.
Right.
When all their contracts went up and they started AEW, they took every talent that was valuable in Ring of Honor and brought them over. I was watching something everywhere I saw it. Was either on YouTube or TikTok. A guy was talking about it was discussion with Kevin Steen's contract going up, and he was explaining like how the best way to describe the overall AEW product, and he's described it perfectly. It's like he literally took the heart and the roots of Ring of Honor and PWG on a wrestling level, with bits and pieces of the New Japan style, with the entertainment factor to a point of WWE, all in one product, but the entertainment isn't the focal point. It's more the Ring of Honor and the PWG with the nuances of New Japan with the promos of WWE.
Sure.
I thought it was a perfect description.
Right.
Like Kevin Owens is done great in WWE. He will thrive in AEW because the way that company is built, it caters to guys like him.
Well, listen, Joe, that if you just let him do his thing, he's fine. They killed Kevin Owens in that when he took that time out because of an injury, he had those vignettes bringing him back, and they were great. I mean, this was something, I remember Damian Sandow, whatever his name is nowadays. He said,
now he's Aaron Stevens.
Aaron Stevens.
Which is his real name.
Right.
Well, actually, no, it's not. It's something different. It's like Hassan Aaron
Holiday, something like that.
Whatever it is. He said it's all been done before. No, it hasn't. It gets harder to find things that haven't been done before as time goes on. I'll give him that. But it has not all been done before. And Kevin Owens found something that got way over that hadn't been done before. And that is, he was complaining about things that we complain about all the time. Goes to the movies, gives his son $20. Where's my change? Oh, it costs $20. What are you talking about? Go to the bowling alley. Watch this. And throws a gutter ball. Pineapple pizza. This is disgusting. He related to the common man. And then they fucked that up. All before he even came on screen, Kofi Kingston wins Elimination Chamber, wins the title shot, and Vince McMahon comes out and says, I'm taking it from you and giving it to Kevin Owens. You built him up as a face. The fans are eating it up. And now you're giving him Kofi's title shot, and you want the fans to cheer for him? Then they had Kevin turn on the New Day. And then and then they turned him back to being a face, and now he's a terrible face again. Welcome back, Mr. J.
We're talking about Kevin Owens.
Okay.
Again.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if anybody knows this tonight, but it's after 8 SmackDown's on. Just a heads up.
All right, that's fine. I mean, I think we're kind of cooling down anyway, so we'll start. Jay, every time you come back, your audio never lines up, and I don't know why.
Yeah, like
My daughter called.
What happened?
My daughter called.
I know, but you do these on your phone, right?
Yeah.
It's like, for some reason, I don't know why this is, but when you come back, like maybe it's just the phone, your volume is so compressed, and like I've been trying to fix it, and I'm like, how the heck? I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah. But what I was saying was, no, but Kevin Owens, yeah, like he was doing that whole thing, and then he turned him heel. But even then, he was still over that. That's why you turned him babyface. But now, like, he's done the face thing, so even his face run is stale.
Right. I mean,
Like,
you
I
have a
think-
feud with Corbin and Logan Paul too, because no one who wants to see Logan Paul.
No one. It's bad. But again, they're trying to prove that they're an entertainment company. That's why if you watched All Out and then you watched Raw the next night, Raw looked like a complete dud in comparison.
I agree with that. You know what's interesting about this past week's Monday Night Raw, the way it opened? The way it opened was a throwback to the old Saturday night's main events. It comes on, the first thing you see is promos by all the tag teams in the turmoil match. That's right out of Saturday. That's how Saturday night's main event used to open, with the music in the background. And I can't help but wonder if that would have happened had AEW not hit it out of the ballpark the night before.
Because
again, that's my,
I think it's because they're trying to hit the nostalgia, because if they can't hit them on the current pulse, give them the all-time pulse, and we'll keep them hooked that way.
Without a doubt.
To be honest with you.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, bud?
About the turmoil. I didn't care.
It's actually a good match.
The turmoil?
Yeah.
It was all right.
It was honestly the best.
I'm not going to say it was a match
about-
of the year, but it was a good match, though.
I would say that right now for Raw, their tag teams division is their best thing they got.
Could be. Could be.
The best the two best things they have on Raw right now are the tag team division and Charlotte Flair. I don't care if anybody says Charlotte Flair is fucking on point. Charlotte.
That was another shit they took on a wrestler with the whole Nikki Cross thing. They have her win Money in the Bank in spectacular fashion. She wins the title the next night on Raw. Now she's more over than ever. And what do? You have a lose clean to Charlotte Flair twice. It's just
then you have a lose, and then you have a lose at SummerSlam, and don't even give her a rematch. She doesn't even get a rematch for a title. She lost.
Well, why do you make them? And it reminds me of Rey Mysterio, the worst booked champion ever. Wins the title at WrestleMania, loses clean to Mark Henry one week, loses clean to the Great Khali the next week. Why the hell is he the champion? I hate when the champions lose clean. I hate that.
It's stupid.
It kills the credibility of the champion.
Right. You know what's funny about Rey Mysterio's title run? Hurricane Helms said this in a shoot. He goes, "This is what killed the Cruiserweight division WWE. You have Rey Mysterio as your world champion, 5'6", 140 pounds. You have Gregory Helms, who's about 6 foot, about 200 even.
Right.
And he's the Cruiserweight, and Rey Mysterio is the heavyweight. Are you really going to how is that believable?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You're the Cruiserweight champion at 200 pounds.
Yep.
And you're fighting a guy who's 5'6", who's 6 inches shorter than you and like 50 pounds lighter than you as your world heavyweight champion. How does this devalues what that is? It's kind of like how on 205 Live, it's a devalued show now because you have 400-pound guys that are prospects wrestling on 205 Live. I'm pretty sure
But
they're
unfortunately right now they gutted pretty much the whole division in the last 2 cuts.
It's going to be a dead show, Rod. I'm still mad at you that you made me watch freaking main event for you for that.
Oh, point out over there.
Main event is trash. Except for Ali and Ricochet, it's trash.
It was actually good. It wasn't. That Cedric versus Ricochet match was awesome on main event.
It was funny.
This is true.
Back down from the beginning.
What's that, Jay?
Well, if this stupid thing will load, do I want to start SmackDown from the beginning?
Yeah.
That's
I
up
would.
to you guys. I think we're kind of winding down. I know SmackDown time's on them. We're all amped to watch that. I know we're gonna be watching Rampage later. I know I'm gonna be watching Strong later.
I
Got my,
mean,
trifecta of wrestling
Rampage
tonight.
and
I'm
it's
jealous of
funny.
all my
You
friends
got
who are
three.
at
You got
SmackDown
three.
tonight.
You got three different companies on at 10 o'clock tonight on Friday nights. You gotta love it.
All right,
Third.
W's.
What's the
Listen,
third?
I got to agree with what they said. AEW. You know what? Yeah, all the products aren't perfect, but you know it is a good time to be a wrestling.
Oh, I
fan.
agree. I'm
Yeah.
loving it.
They all have loopholes, but
This
embrace
is unique
every
times,
product.
but it's great times too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
every brand is there's so much wrestling to watch.
Yes.
Is it possible? It's very hard to keep up with all of it and watch everything.
Right.
If you have that kind of time and that kind of discipline, God bless you. But
God bless. Yeah.
I can't. But like
Well,
I make it a point.
retirement gives me that. So
God bless. One of
Thank
these
you.
days we'll all get there, hopefully.
yes.
But
I'm never
absolutely.
retiring. I'm going to retire when I'm dead, probably.
Probably me too, but I hope not. But I'll just say, you know, guys, it was a pleasure. You know, it was.
I know. It was great.
Guys, it was so almost fun that I hope you invite me back. How's that? But you know, hopefully I passed the test. Hopefully I had a good audition.
Oh, I'm pretty sure this won't be your last time on here.
I'm sure there'll be other cameos to be had, Mr. Brian Mannix.
I hope so, brother. It was a pleasure and
Good time.
you know,
Yep.
you know, talking about one of my favorite things to talk about, and that is pro wrestling. And I'll just end with this. You know, there was a lot, but you know, my mother, may she rest in peace. There was a lot she never understood about me. The fact that I never grew out of wrestling might have been number one. But hey,
it's so compelling, always.
Absolutely, there's nothing more when it's done right. There's nothing more entertaining than pro wrestling.
Have that in common.
I'm sorry, Jay.
Have that in common.
What do we have in common?
My mom was the same way. She never understood.
Oh, my mom tried to numerous occasions try to get me to start watching wrestling. Numerous occasions.
In common with our mom.
And you see how well that worked.
My parents like wrestling to a point. They don't get it to my level, but they appreciate it. When they were like first dating, like they used to watch Georgia Championship Wrestling and stuff like that. I think they went to the Coliseum for WrestleMania 1 because they had them on the TVs or something.
You're right.
Close
talking, yeah.
Yeah, I think they actually went to the Coliseum to watch the first WrestleMania, believe it or not.
Wow.
It was one of their dates when they were first married. Because I was born. Yeah, I was born in '86, so I was born right after WrestleMania 2, pretty much.
Okay.
So like that was like that's just the time frame. Like they were like when wrestling was first blowing up was around the same time they got married.
That is
ironically.
Awesome.
Like
That's
they got married in October of '83.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I was born in '86, so a couple years. I would say, actually true story. Before we wrap up, my great uncle was an art director for movies. He did No Holds Barred. So I was too young, but my whole family went to wrestling at the Coliseum, like leading up to SummerSlam '89, where they had that Hogan Zeus match. That they had that tour going on. My parents, like my whole family, went to that. Like I obviously was too young, so I didn't go. I was like 2 or 3 at the time, but yeah, they all went. Yeah, my great uncle like knew Hulk Hogan and stuff. I recently learned that he also did the art directing for Welcome Back, Kotter randomly.
Wow,
that was
awesome.
My great uncle. Yeah.
And I'll just say, I was actually at WrestleMania 2, one of the best moments. Forget about it, my life as a wrestling fan, but of my life, period. And you know, going with my father and his friend Manny and Manny's father, and the fact that at least 2 of those guys are no longer around makes it more special. But I've been to all 4 major pay-per-views at least.
Yeah, same.
Yep, and I've done a lot, and you know, the best is yet to come. My next show is in December at AEW at the Coliseum, and you know, we'll Chuck. Hopefully, you and I'll cross paths and have a beer and watch a match together.
Absolutely, no. Well, I'll tell you what. If I wind up going in December, I'll message you like, yo, we're getting a drink. Come say hey.
Absolutely, man. Well, hopefully, I'll see you guys on here before then.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Before you go.
Yes.
Like, you know, with my mom, like, when I tried to talk wrestling, she would totally dismiss it. Or just, was your mom the same way? Well, my mom just didn't want to talk about it.
Was that for me? I'm not going to lie. I'm having a hard time hearing him.
Yeah, that was for you.
Okay, now I can hear you. What were you saying, Jay?
My mom would always dismiss, I talk about wrestling. She never took it seriously.
She never, I don't know if she took it seriously, but she respected that I like it, but she never understood.
I think it's almost the same, but a lot of
Yeah, she she put up with it. She had no choice. I wasn't gonna stop.
My dad is funny. My dad preferred to watch the night that the Undertaker lost to Michaels and they did the cooking thing with the
Right.
barbecue. My dad preferred to watch the Big Show on WCW.
Right. Wow.
He didn't like the skits. He liked the wrestling.
Right. That's how
I like
most
the wrestling
people-
too. I'm like that too. I like the matches. Like that's what I'm
Sure.
compelled to more than the
Sure.
entertainment.
I mean, listen, if something outside the ring is done right, it works. Case in point, Piper's Pit. But I'll leave you guys with this for you. Talking about, mothers and wrestling. So one day, in the 2000s, I was working the graveyard shifts. So I was home during the day and I was watching the WWECW that I taped the night before. And this was one of the first episodes where Kelly is dancing around.
Yeah.
My mom comes in the room and Kelly is dancing around with the chair and the pole and the whole 9 yards. And she says, "What the hell is this?" I said, "It's wrestling." She said, "This is wrestling?" I said, "Yeah, believe it or not." She said, "Can you pause this, please, while I'm in the room?" And it wasn't really that bad, but yeah, man, we got great memories, thank God.
Ruthless aggression era for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bud. What'd you say, Rod?
I say that's the ruthless aggression era for you.
That's right.
The era where all you needed to do to get a women's title match at WrestleMania was to do Playboy.
Show your boobs a little bit.
Unfortunately, very
Show
glad
your
those
boobs.
days are over.
Final match.
Very.
Show me your boobs. Oh, you get the title push now.
Very glad those days are over, but I hated WWECW, and I'm glad that didn't have a long shot.
I wanted to like it, but here's the thing: what you
They
guys
made it
aren't
so
seeing.
hard for you.
What do you think
Yeah.
the new NXT is going to be? It's going to be that all over again.
I hope not. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, and Joey Styles said this on the Paul Heyman DVD, Chuck. He said, and I said this for years. I said this at the time. Had it been called anything else, it might have worked. The fact that it was called ECW
Was
when
an
it
insult to
wasn't.
ECW fans. It was an insult to
not
OG ECW
See,
fans.
And here was the problem too. Everybody thought, like, for example, like the Zombie and all those other characters be on the ECW was the WWE's fault. No, Sci-Fi wanted all those characters. They was trying to the network. That was not WWE. Like the match and stuff being outside, that was Sci-Fi's doing. That wasn't WWE's doing.
Right.
Thorne gets no recognition after his WWE character failed. What was it called again? What was Mordecai? After Mordecai failed.
Mordecai.
Oh, Kevin Thorne, yeah.
Kevin Thorne.
Back on.
He was before his time. If he first would have debuted when like Twilight first came out, he would have been huge.
They missed. It was a mistimed gimmick. Had you like given him they should have brought him back when the first Twilight movies came out, because he like wrapped up around the same time. They should have brought him back at that time as Kevin Thorne with Mordecai again, and it would have done way better.
It was like how Super Crazy got that push because Nacho Libre was big in the theaters.
That wasn't
And I just want to.
That was his gimmick before going to WWE. Remember, he was 7.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I know it winded down here, but I just want to bring up, if I'm not with you guys next week, and I'm sure you guys will be talking about the wonderful wedding between Index. And I just want to bring up a point. One thing that I agree 100%, Jay. The one thing that I took from the bachelorette parties on NXT this past week, there are times WWE puts stuff out and makes me think that they're catering to the stoner. There are things I watch, I think to myself, this would be so much more fun if I was high, or if, thank God I'm drinking, I have a few beers in me or something. Or
I
else
can't
I
watch
hate
these
this
shows
other
sober.
one.
It's terrible.
I'm sorry?
I can't watch these shows sober. They're terrible.
But with that, and I think they're catering to the Stoner, like when they started this theatrical wrestling, like and you saw it last year's WrestleMania, Undertaker, AJ. Then you saw it the next night, Cena, Wyatt. Then you saw it with the Money in the Bank matches.
Yeah, exactly.
The god awful skit between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. You saw, you see this theatrical stuff.
Wearing the Allen Houston jersey. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but no, Zayn is in the ring right now wearing the Allen Houston jersey.
That makes sense. But now they did this with the Bachelor and Bachelorette. More the bachelor party. They made it more theatrical.
Oh no, that's a Kevin Knox jersey.
What happened?
Oh no. Oh no, it's Kevin Knox he's wearing. The same number, just different play. Kevin Knox is wearing.
Oh, interesting. I'll watch it once we're done here. But that was my thing. I think they're catering to the Stoner audience sometimes. That's all.
I agree. I feel like I have to be fucked up to understand it.
Absolutely.
I'm missing golden opportunities to do.
Oh hell no! This scumbag ain't in my arena right now.
Oh boy, I guess Lesnar's on.
Jumps over the arena, whoops his ass just for him being here right now.
I just started it, Rod, where I'm seeing Lesnar come out. So
yeah, I'm also thinking on that note, it's time to cool it down and wind down, gents.
All right, hold on. One more thing, Brian, before we go, I want to ask you something. Did you see the interview with Nick Khan?
No, I haven't.
Oh, so you didn't hear how he said like the way you fix Monday Night Raw's problems, giving it an additional hour?
Oh, fuck that. 3 hours is already terrible.
So instead of a 3 hour rule, you get a 4 hour rule. And SmackDown should be 8 hours. So then we can get a 12-hour WrestleMania.
But will we ever sleep? It's insane. Absolutely insane.
You gotta pull the plug. Raw, I watch it every week, but I can't watch it every week.
He's like, we will make more money if we have Raw 4 hours.
how about you just take Raw 30 minutes and give us?
Okay, go back to 2 hours. It'll be better.
They don't understand that less is more sometimes. To them, more is more, always.
And it's terrible. It's not the way to do it.
I agree 1,000%.
It's not the way to do it.
Absolutely.
But on that note, gents, it's been a good one. Thank you, Brian, for coming on. We had a good discussion about AEW. Good
Thank you for
discussions about state of WWE. I really enjoyed this.
Listen, like I said, it was almost fun enough that I hope I get invited back.
We'll have your people talk to your people, okay?
Sounds good to me.
We'll have your people talk to our people.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. God bless. Have a good rest of the
week. Good times out. You too, man.
Have a good one, Brian. Again, we are Attention Wrestling Disorder. I am the Chuck.
RJ, whole nothing but the whole damn show later and boom and all that shit.
And I am the Hot Rod 521.
And that is our cue to say goodnight and check us out in a couple weeks. We got another guest in the books. I have a feeling that me and Rod will not be getting words in edgewise.
Well, it might be World War III, but get ready.
Rod, I'll mail some popcorn to you, okay? We'll enjoy some popcorn. Be like watching a movie.
What happened?
All right, guys. This one has been just too sweet.
Oh, and you forgot to mention something. Japan did